Spring day in New York. Just gorgeous. And what better to celebrate spring than to look at two of the best shortstops in all of baseball. Mets and Rockies coming up. The Mets have gotten off to an up-and-down start in the 2011 season. New manager Terry Collins has had much to distress him, but not his shortstop. Jose Reyes has been front and center in the early season. Great defense, running at full speed, hitting well. Mets have had a legacy of great defensive shortstops in their past, whether Buddy Harrelson or Rafael Santana or the tremendously exciting Ray Ordonez. But never have they had the full package that they get from Jose Reyes. Offense, defense, speed, the entire game. And Reyes will put his skills on display tonight at Citi Field. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Colorado Rockies. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling join us in a moment. The Mets open a 4-game series against the Colorado Rockies, and with the Mets and Rockies going head-to-head, that means a chance to look at two of the best shortstops in all of baseball. Two very different talents, Jose Reyes for the Mets and Troy Tulowitzki for the Colorado Rockies, and they each bring some very special skills to the table.
Well, you know, we got two distinctly different shortstops. I mean, Tulowitzki is probably going to be a guy like the Cal Ripken mold, but Jose here has just gotten off to a tremendous start and playing great with the glove. That was a big league play right there, and it really saved that ball game. He's got an 8-game hitting streak going right now. He's stealing bases. You see the legs. We're all worried about his hamstrings. He's been running free and fast as he can go, like he likes to go. He's all one speed. So he's the catalyst of this club. He's more the guy on the top of the order. Now, on the other side of the coin, with the Colorado Rockies, you've got Troy Tulowitzki, who is more of a basher. And let's not talk about just his bat. He won a Gold Glove last year, his first, and a Silver Slugger. He had a terrific September. He's got the great cannon arm, as you see right there. Last year in September, when this club made the great run and that fell short for the Western Division flag, he was Player of the Month of September. He had 15 home runs. He drove in 40 runs and scored 30. That's a half a season of work for a lot of guys. I mean, that's just a tremendous month. He's one of the great offensive talents and as well as defense, plus he can steal bases too. He's had a career high of 20 stolen bases just 2 years ago. So two great shortstops to watch in this series.
And the Rockies off to a good start at 6-2. The Mets at 4-5, and they've made changes coming into today's game. They've designated for assignment reliever Blaine Boyer. They've sent down Lucas Duda, and they've called up the veteran Jason Isringhausen and Ryota Igarashi to help fortify the bullpen, going with 13 pitchers right now. But the most important pitcher for the Mets tonight is Mike Pelfrey, who has to find his way out of the weeds after two very difficult starts.
Well, he really does, and I think one of the things he's going to be looking for is to go back to basics. He's really been throwing a lot of breaking balls. He didn't like really how the game went the first two games. He's going to go back to basics, that good sinker and that good split finger. I think it would have been more prudent if he didn't talk about it, so the other team wouldn't know how he's going to try to approach them, but he is going to try to go back to the ABCs.
So Pelfrey makes his third start of the year, hoping to get things turned around. Jason Hamill goes for the Rockies. First of 4, Mets in Colorado. All the action coming your way on SNY. brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Lexus. By Parts Authority, the future of auto parts. By Chase. Deposit checks from your smartphone with quick deposit. Take a step forward and chase what matters. And by Audi. Some of the fans here to see the Mets play the Rockies on a Monday night in New York. Come on back. All the action coming your way in a moment. West with a 6-2 record. Troy Tulowitzki off to a somewhat slow start. However, he's got 3 home runs early in the year after hitting 15 in September last year, as Keith noted. Ian Stewart and Carlos Gonzalez both sat out with the flu yesterday, both well enough to play today in a ballpark and in a city where the Rockies have not fared very well. They've lost 23 of their last 27 to the Mets in New York.
Keith, did you also say he had 40 RBIs in September?
Can you believe that?
Unbelievable. Well, Pelt's going to have to deal with that today. He said he is going back to basics as we see those Verizon numbers so far in this young season. He's going to throw his fastball and splitter. He faced 18 hitters in his last start against the Philadelphia Phillies. Only 6 times did he use the fastball on that first pitch. He's going to ignore the scouting reports and go right after the hitters.
Well, I certainly hope the Colorado Rocky lineup didn't read the papers this morning. The Metsy Lexus defense will see Reyes, no errors this season and 41 chances. And Harris in left field, Beltran back in the lineup. Murph at second base. Hello there, Murph. Your second start.
Jim Tracy, 3rd season as Rockies manager, National League Manager of the Year in his first year with Colorado. Last year, the Rockies were right in the thick of the race thanks to Tulowitzki in that great September, but then they lost 13 of their last 14 games to fall out of it and finish 3rd behind the Padres and the Giants.
So they have a 21 out of 22 in September, and they have a 1-13 in September. Wow.
Dexter Fowler will lead things off for Colorado. Switch hitter, is a much better right-hand hitter than left, and of course he'll bat left-handed against Pelfrey. And Mike's first pitch at Citi Field this season is fouled back. Pelfrey was much more successful at home than on the road last year, and that's really been the case throughout his career. Last year made 19 starts here at Citi Field, 10-3 with a 2.83 ERA, only the third Met pitcher in the last 20 years to win 10 home starts. The other two were Rick Reed in '98 and Mike Hampton in 2000. So he loved pitching here last year. There you see the contrast between home and road. So perhaps coming home is the tonic. And the fastball fouled off, 1-2. Nearly a great grab.
Got his glove. He got the ball. Got it in the glove. Stone hands. E7. Plank.
Like he needed to break the glove in a little more.
Do not give that man a contract. Sorry, Gary. That glove is broken in. I can tell. It's a clank.
Trying to give him a little out. And you're breaking his heart. Split misses and it's 2-2. Now Pelfrey said during the week that he plans to throw mostly fastballs and splits. Do you take him at his word, or is that a little reverse psychology to work on the other team?
Well, I will tell you that after you've gotten your lunch handed to you and you have to face the media, there's a lot of things that you say that you wish you could take back, because it's the heat of the moment. You're feeling awful about your performance. It's almost like a confession in some ways. You just want to get it off and out of your system, and sometimes you say too much, and I think that's what happened to Mike there. You never want to say what your game plan is going to be for your next start. Just, hey, I had 2 bad starts. I'm going to be great when I come back to Citi. That's all you have to say.
Sixth pitch to Fowler, and he strikes him out with a fastball. So true to his word, Pelfrey starts off with what for him is a rare event, a strikeout.
Well, just the fastball away, pretty true. No, Fowler just swings through it.
Great fastball. Well, Fowler's a guy that strikes out. 2 years in the big leagues, he struck out over 100 times in both seasons.
So 1 out and nobody on. Here's a guy who's been a spark plug for the Rockies early in the season, Jonathan Herrera, another switch hitter. Jose Lopez is the regular second baseman, but when Herrera's had a chance to play, he's done a great job getting on base. 18 plate appearances. He's been on 12 of 18.
7 walks.
Inside. Ooh, that fastball barely missed. 1-1. Herrera, 26 years old. Looked at as a utility player, trying to be more than that. And he slashes one foul. 1-2.
Well, one thing I've seen so far is that Pelfrey's throwing a lot more four-seamers than that sinker. That ball is very, very true, especially inside to the lefties.
Carlos Gonzalez waits on deck.
Well, this is as much as he threw the first start in Florida, Ron, when he kind of got into a throwing match with Josh Johnson. He was throwing 93, 94, and it straightened out. The last outing we talked about how he backed off a little, I thought too much at 88. Now he's in 91 range, and that's, to me, is probably the happy medium for Mike.
And Josh Thole catching Pelfrey again tonight after Pelfrey made a point of talking about Thole and the fingers he was putting down in Philadelphia as Herrera serves one into left field, and he's got himself a base hit off that split. So 1 out and 1 on for the Rockies in the opening inning.
Well, it's a pitch away, and that's what I think Herrera, the type of hitter he is. He's a little sprays the ball around.
So the Mercedes-Benz Ultramo brought to you by your Tri-State dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So now last year's National League batting champion Carlos Gonzalez out of the lineup yesterday because of the flu. Had a tremendous year last year. Third in the MVP voting. Won a Gold Glove. Won a Silver Slugger. And established himself as one of the big young stars in the National League. And fastball strike, 0-1.
25 years of age, too. He's 26 this year. The Silver Slugger is the Louisville Silver Slugger Award, and it came into being, I believe, in around 1980 or late 70s. And they're the all-offensive team for every position. First, second, all the regular positions, even the pitcher, in both leagues. So it's quite an honor. It's an all-offensive team.
Troy Tulowitzki on deck. Well, Gonzalez is a guy who was in 2 other organizations before he blossomed here in Colorado. He was signed by Arizona, traded to Oakland in a deal for Dan Herron, and then traded to Colorado in a deal for Matt Holliday. So he was traded for a couple of pretty good players. 1-2 to Gonzalez. But the Rockies with Gonzalez and Troy Tulowitzki and Ubaldo Jimenez have as good a core of young budding superstars as any team in baseball. Jimenez on the disabled list right now.
That's a big 3 right there.
And they got some good complementary talent too with Ian Stewart and Seth Smith, Chris Iannetta, who they've been waiting for a long time to realize his promise offensively.
Herrera at first and 1 out. 1-2 the count to Gonzalez. And that splitter misses 2-2. And the other thing the Rockies have done is they've made sure to lock up their young talent. Gonzalez is signed for 6 more years after this. Tulowitzki signed for 9 more years after this. So they've made it a point to identify and keep those guys around for a long, long time.
Well, in this guy's case, lock him up, throw away the key.
10 years, 157 million. There goes Herrera. Struck him out. Toley's throw right on the money, but he beat it. Good throw by Toley, but Herrera steals the base as Gonzalez strikes out for the second out.
Another fastball, knee-high outside corner, might have been off the plate. Good late sink. Strong throw by Toley. He just got in there. Reyes keeping that tag on him very wisely. Could come off that base.
Did he get him?
He might have got that hand in. See, well, bang, bang, really.
Second base umpire Darrell Cousins with the call. So 2 strikeouts in the opening inning for Pelfrey. That matches his season high already through the first 3 batters. Here's Troy Tulowitzki, and he takes a strike.
Sometimes those fundamentals there for Herrera sliding to the outside part of that bag got him that safe call.
Tulowitzki hitting just .214, but you see the high on base percentage, and he's slugging .607, which is in the top 10 in the league. So you have to go beyond the batting average when you look at what Tulowitzki has done early in the year.
And they're just coming off 3 out of 4 on the road in Pittsburgh. This is their first road trip. Unusual. 2 4-game series for them on the road. There's Jim Tracy. What a job he's done with this team, boy, I tell you.
Well, last year the Rockies could not win on the road at all. They were 31-50 away from Coors Field and did not win a road series till August. Now they've already won 1. Popped up, and David right near the bag, waiting for it to come down. And stays with it for the 3rd out. So a couple of strikeouts and a pop-up. Different mode for Pelfrey, puts up a 0, and the Mets come to bat with no score.
second base and bats second. Angel Pagan slides down to the 6th hole to break up a string of left-hand batters deep in the lineup, as the Mets face Jason Hamill, whom they've faced twice and beaten twice.
Well, 6'6" tall, 215 pounds. Hamill had career highs last year in innings pitched with 177 2/3, 141 Ks, 27-32 career with a 5.06 ERA.
Reyes on a string of getting on base in the first inning. He's done it 7 straight games, which is the longest such streak in the majors in a couple of years since Rafael Furcal reached base in 9 straight games leading off.
Well, he gave up those 5 innings, 4 runs against the Dodgers, but got the win.
Off speed pitch by Hamill, and it's 1-2. Reyes overall riding an 8-game hitting streak. See the average at .333. Reyes got a bunt single and an infield hit his first 2 at bats yesterday, and then had a base hit in the 10th inning to lead off after the Nats sent the game to extra innings. Got to first base, but was not moved on a bunt or a stolen base, and wound up being stranded at third. Two and two to Reyes. Now, the folks at Elias did some checking about Reyes and steals late in games. They found that in his career there have been 17 instances where he's been on first base, tie game, nobody out, 7th inning or later. Of those 17 times, he's attempted 2 steals. Grounded to the second baseman, Herrera on the backhand, and Reyes' streak of leading off and getting on ends at 7, 1 away. Now, I find that fascinating, and I think it pretty much jives with what we've observed over the last few years. But the question is, at what point as a manager do you need to say to Reyes, you have to run in those spots?
Well, I think Terry Collins is going to be that manager who's going to do that, because in the past you can't always blame Reyes, because you had managers here who automatically would bunt because you had Castillo a lot of times sitting behind him. So that's a factor. 13 times he was bunted over. But I think as this Mets team that's, itching to score some runs, Terry's a very aggressive manager. I think, a little kick in the fanny and go, hey, go, you got the speed.
Murphy hits one into left field, and so Daniel Murphy making his second start. Has himself a first inning single.
Well, Terry Collins is trying to get Murph in the ball game. Murph's solid line drive hitter, contact hitter. Goes that way well. Beautiful right there. That's how you hit a pitch away. The problem with Murph is, where do you play him? Or where do you hide him? So he's just got too good a bat, and I think Pagan being pushed down in the order now, because it's just too, like Gary said earlier, it's just too top heavy left-handed. It gives a Pagan hitting sixth, gives a switch hitter down there, kind of break up the bottom heavy left-handed lineup.
Here's David Wright with 1 out and 1 on, and he takes a strike from Hamill. Well, it's all a work in progress right now, this batting order, because you're waiting for Jason Bay to come back and give you that right-handed bat, probably in the 6th hole, and that changes everything around. And Terry Collins even said today that when Bay is back, what he wants to do is put Pagan in the 2 hole and leave him there.
Right. He's more suited for the 2 hole.
Murphy runs on a hit and run play, and the throw by Iannetta is too late. That's an interesting call. Murphy steals his first base of the year.
I wonder if it was a hit and run.
I think it had to be a steal right on an 0-1 count.
I don't think a hit and run an 0-1.
Well, the way David offered at that ball, it was though he felt as though he had to swing at it.
I think you're right. It's David's swing. It'll be interesting if we got a shot of Murph on his way to second, if he looked in or not. That'll let us know.
5th career stolen base for Murphy, so he's at second with 1 out. An 0-2 count to Wright, and he lays off the slider. It's interesting to see Murphy steal a base in the first inning, and let's look to see whether he did peek in.
That's a straight steal on his own there. And I find that amazing. If there was a steal sign given, or has he got a green light? I just don't think he'd have a green light, would you?
Well, Hamels is a 1-4, 1-5 guy to the plate. You get up in that territory, it increases the number of people in your lineup who can steal.
1-2 to right with Beltran on deck. And it just misses 2-2. What makes that intriguing that Murphy would run in the first inning is that when he moved Murphy into the 2-hole today, Terry Collins was asked whether he considered putting Josh Thole in the 2-hole because Josh handles the bat pretty well. And he said, well, not to be deprecating of Thole, but he has no speed.
Correct.
And, you know, you don't think of Murphy as a speed demon, but clearly he demonstrates immediately that he can at least steal a base for you. David fights one off. One thing you know about Terry Collins, a lot of thought is going into all the decision making. He's talking today about getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, having coffee, and writing out lineup after lineup after lineup until he got the one he thought he wanted to live with for the day.
I am just extremely pleased with the way he has managed in game thus far this year. He is alert. He's not going to fall asleep at the switch.
Well, look back as Herrera was edging toward the bag to keep Murphy close.
And if Murphy steals third, then now I'll be shocked.
David Wright 4 for 12 with runners in scoring position in the first week and a half of the season. Looking to get Murphy in from second. That's gotten off to a fast start the last 2 days in the first inning. And it's grounded foul. They got a 2-run homer from Beltran on Saturday night. They scored 2 in the first with RBI hits by Wright and Pagan yesterday.
And we'll take a look at the Coors Light Rocky defense. And you see the first Gold Glove won by Mr. Tulowitzki. And let's not overlook that young man out there in left field. He won his first Gold Glove. So 2 Gold Glovers in this lineup.
Ty Wigginton filling in at first base for Todd Helton, whose back has been acting up. This will be the 7th pitch of the at bat from Hamill to Wright. And David lays off an Ionetta backhanding that ball 3-2.
Now, he was set up inside, and Mr. Hamill's missed badly. Mr. Hamill's worked slow too, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Jason Hamill picked up by the Rockies right at the start of the 2009 season. Last year he was 10-9, a 4.81 ERA for Colorado. Now it's 3-2 to Wright. And David hits one toward the hole, a base hit. Murphy to third will be held up there against the strong arm of Gonzalez. And so the Mets have runners at the corners with one down.
Well, nice hitting by David. The fastball in. Probably want to get it up and in. This is down and in. Nicely done. That's inside corner. Good hitting by David.
See David talking to Ty Wigginton at first base when he got there. David Wright basically replaced Ty Wigginton as the Mets' third baseman.
Well, they're having a nice laugh about it anyway. Ty's done pretty well since he left anyway.
Yes, he has. A nice career, 6 different teams now. So here's Beltran with a first inning RBI chance. That's trying to get off to a good start against the Rockies, who have outscored their opponents in the first inning 14-1 this year.
Carlos with the 2 home run game from the right side of the plate.
But he's been swinging the bat pretty well the last few days. Got yesterday off. Only had a pinch hitting assignment and grounded out in the 9th inning.
Well, you could have a chance for Wright to run here because Hamels is so slow, but do you want to leave the hole open, Keith?
I think you hold your horses right here. Well, they're really playing a pull over there. Herrera at second.
And misses low to Beltran 2-0.
Herrera's going to be hard pressed to get over and get a double play and get the lead runner. That's way over there. Normally double play depth is right about in there.
Figuring if Beltran hits it on the ground, he'll pull it. And it's too high, ball 3. A walk would load the bases and bring up Ike Davis, who's been the Mets' best RBI threat by far in the early season. Jim Tracy's team has pitched very well so far this year. In fact, the Rockies are right now 2nd in the National League in staff ERA. But Hamill has had trouble throughout his career when teams have gotten runners into scoring position against him. In fact, the worst of any active pitcher.
Beltran pulls one. Nice play by Wigginton to get the out. The run will score, and now Wright is in a rundown. And Wigginton tags him out to end the inning, but the run counts as Murphy crosses the plate on the tag play. He scored before the tag was made, and so the Mets get a run. It's a double play to end the inning. Scored a run.
Now Wigginton has two options. I say tag the base, then go home. I've made that play twice in my career. Now Ty is not a first baseman by trade, a third baseman. David Wright very alertly gets in the run down, get that run home. And also we're talking pure fundies here. The Rockies executed a very nice rundown.
Once they got him in that rundown. I've always thought first base actually is Wigginton's best position. I think he's handled that better over his career than anywhere else. He certainly did when he was with the Mets.
Well, I was the recipient of that play when Keith made it. Had runners on first and third. No, well, this was Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
Eddie Milner on third. Ground ball to Keith. He tagged first. Threw Milner out at home. Last out. 9-inning shutout. Thank you very much. Very good.
Only reason why I did it, Gary, is because it was a two-run ball game. And that was late in the game, and that was a big run on third base. I wanted to keep it a two-run lead. Remember that play precisely. As if it happened yesterday.
It was practically yesterday. Seth Smith leading off in the second and fouls back the Mike Pelfrey fastball. So Pelfrey, true to his word, has stuck pretty much to fastballs and splits early in the game. Had a good first inning, striking out a pair.
The fastball split and being aggressive the first time through the lineup, not really a problem. It's the second and third time through the lineup, always.
And in the wake of his start in Philadelphia, Terry Collins said something very interesting when, you know, there was the talk after the game about Pelfrey commenting on Toley's pitch selection and all that. Terry said very simply, I don't care what pitch he throws. It's all about location.
Location, and also
Smith rifles one toward the gap in right center field, and that ball one hops the wall. Smith to second. He's going to take a turn there and try for three. Murphy with the relay throw, not in time. And Seth Smith has a leadoff triple. Smith's a good hitter.
Yes, he is.
Used to be pigeonholed as a pinch hitter, now an everyday player.
Well, the one thing you forget on this deep right center field here at Citi Field, nice hustle by Seth Smith, is that it is so deep that the second baseman is about 10 to 25 feet deeper than any second baseman would be in a lot of different parks. So that throw is longer to third base.
11th career triple for Smith, who had 5 of them last year. Of course, Coors Field will also yield its share of triples with the expanse in the outfield. So here's Wigginton, infield back, conceding the tying run, and Wigginton fouls it off.
The ILTV pitch differential trying to come in, but left that ball middle, and to left-handed hitters down. That's a problem.
Down and down Broadway.
That's one you're lucky you didn't lift it.
Wigginton now 33 years old. Fouls it away, and Pelfrey ahead 0-2. Ty first came up with the Mets in 0-2. He hit .302 that year in limited action. Played almost every day in 03. Hit .255 with 11 home runs. And then after he was off to a very good start in 04, the Mets traded him to Pittsburgh in the deal that brought them Chris Benson, because they had this kid Wright who was ready to play third base every day. And Pelfrey strikes him out looking. Mike Pelfrey all of a sudden becoming a strikeout pitcher tonight. That's 3 of them against the first 6 batters. 1 out.
Well, great. Everything was outside and then came in with the fastball right on that corner. Could have been a little bit in. Too close to take, though, for a tie.
So 1 away. Smith still at third. And now Ian Stewart, the third baseman, who's looking for his first hit of the season.
Well, Pudge Rodriguez came in the last series 0 for 12. And so same thing with Stewart.
And the infield comes in as the pitch was delivered. That's an old Bobby Valentine maneuver.
Yes, it is. And they're not going to play any more tricks here. It's going to be halfway up the middle, in at the corners. Actually, really, Mike Davis is moving back.
Well, Reyes can throw home from where he's stationed. I'm not sure about Murphy. Hit sharply to Murphy. He's going to have to come home with it. Right on target, and he gets Smith for the second out. Nicely done by Daniel Murphy.
Well, contact play here. Runner going on contact, and it's a bullet. One-hop bullet right at Murph. Didn't rush to throw. Nicely done.
You know, if you're not going to slide and take out the catcher, why wouldn't you maybe stop and get in a rundown in that situation? Because you're out by so far.
Please let the hitter get to second base.
Yeah.
Here's the contact. Hit too hard. No chance.
Yeah, his head's down, too, so he's not even looking.
Got to take the catcher out, don't you? Oh, well.
We'll get a little spot of tea. Tea and crumpets.
He even tried to kind of help Tolley up. Did
I noticed that. Very gentlemanly.
Yeah. Chris Iannetta struggling at the plate right now. 0 for his last 13. Well, Seth Smith led off the inning with a well-struck triple, but out at the plate for the second out. And now Pelfrey with a chance to get through the inning against Iannetta, who's got some power, but has struggled to hit for a high average in his career.
It's interesting to see Iannetta, a guy that always wore his head shaved in the past. Now he's got the Fu Manchu. He's got the hair working.
And Pelfrey gets ahead of him 0-2. With the pitcher waiting on deck. You see the numbers for Iannetta, who is very highly touted coming out of the University of North Carolina. Probably the biggest catching prospect out of UNC since
Scott Bradley.
B.J. Surhoff.
B.J. Surhoff. That's right. Although B.J. ends up as an outfielder.
Stewart at first and 2 down. And Iannetta takes it just off the plate. Same pitch that struck out Wigginton, but it just missed. So the game plan is working so far for Mike Pelfrey, despite one hard hit ball by Seth Smith in this inning. A huge jump from Stewart, and the pitch outside. Stewart had 4 strides before Pelfrey even came out of his stretch.
Well, good time to steal. If you get thrown out, the 8th hitter leads off the hit. Oh boy, what a jump. I might have been able to steal that one.
So Stewart has his first steal of the year. He's in scoring position with 2 out. A 2-2 count on Iannetta. And that just missed a full count.
Boy, if Pelf can get out of this inning, I don't think we can overlook that in a game that the Mets are winning 1-0, Terry Collins played that very aggressive with the infield in. That's something you don't see very often. That was in the other batter's box. It definitely was a good call by Ron Culpa.
So Pelfrey was ahead 0-2. Now it's 3-2 to Iannetta. And it comes inside and hits him. So Iannetta goes to first base, hit by a pitch ball. And the pitcher Hamill will come up with 2 men on.
Oh, trying to stay inside. You're going to miss in. Oh, that got him on the elbow underneath. That hurts.
So here's Hamill, a lifetime 114 hitter. Started his career in the American League. .6'6", so he has the big strike zone, and Pelfrey goes upstairs for strike 1.
Hamill doesn't look very threatening at the plate with that stance, does he, Ron? Watch him get a base hit here.
And now Pelfrey ahead 0-2. Dexter Fowler would be next. This has been a good team for Pelfrey to pitch against over his career. He's made 7 career starts against the Rockies, and in 5 of them he hasn't allowed a run. 5-2 lifetime with a 2.63 ERA. And Hamill hits a slow ground ball for Reyes to handle. Goes the short way to get the force and end the inning. So a leadoff triple, but the Rockies are stymied. 1-0 New York. City Field in BJ's Clubhouse. Tickets start at $10 for kids and $20 for adults. Plus, Mr. Met visits every game. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com now. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. You can listen to every Met game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. This is the first of 4 with the Rockies. Then the Mets go to Atlanta for the weekend, but then come right back home for 3 with the Astros and 3 with the Diamondbacks next week. So a long stretch of home games. Ike Davis will lead off in the home second, and the Rockies are going to put on a full shift against Ike, something we haven't seen a lot of.
How about that? 3 infielders on the right side.
Davis hitting at 364, and he pops the first pitch up on the thinly guarded left side, but Gonzalez is there. And that's the first out. So one pitch and one away. Here's Angel Pagan hitting 6th in the order today. Just one hit in his last 15 at bats. That was a first inning RBI single yesterday.
Angel took some early batting practice with a half dozen other Mets today and was really working on just left-handed anyways, shooting that ball over the shortstop's head, hitting the ball the other way, trying not to pull at all.
Remember, even his one home run this year was hit in that general direction out to left center in Philly. He takes inside ball 1. Yesterday, the Mets in 11 innings struck out 17 times.
Wow.
They had not struck out that many times in a game since 2008, and that was in a 14-inning game against Washington.
And against Jason Marquis, who was throwing Ronnie 88 miles per hour.
What was he striking people out on? Fastball or changeup? Changeup.
The Mets had only one hit in the last 6 innings of that game. A very impressive performance by the Washington bullpen, especially Tyler Clippard, who looked almost unhittable yesterday.
He had a brilliant game the first game in the series. He's just throwing hard. He's gotten better, more confident with his pitches.
Well, he's come in. He hasn't given up a hit with runners on base, I think, so far.
Daisuke Matsuzaka getting his lunch.
Man.
Slowly hit, and Tulowitzki comes in, has that rocket arm, and shows it off to get Pagan for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by RPL Equipment. From Midtown to Montauk, for all your contracting needs, visit them online at rplequipment.com.
Midtown to Montauk, Soho to Sag Harbor.
Speaking of Montauk and Sag Harbor, it was chilly and foggy out there.
Really?
Today. Yes.
What are you, like a different climate zone out there?
It was some fog all day long out there.
That's what you get for living on the ocean.
Well, that's true.
Well, I came down over the Whitestone Bridge today. Before I got to the bridge, it was 80. When I crossed the bridge, it was 70. So it was kind of a weird weather day.
I was wearing a sweater all day today out there.
This was like a San Francisco day. You know, had to have all those microclimates around.
Yep.
Like 66 in San Francisco, 101 in Concord. 2-0 to Willie Harris, who was responsible for 4 of those strikeouts in the game yesterday, most egregiously in the 10th when he couldn't get a bunt down. And Willie playing left field again today, as the Mets await the arrival of Jason Bay, who's now taking batting practice down in Florida. And Hamill missing off speed, 3-1. That's got a run in the first inning. Murphy singled, stole second. Wright moved him along with a base hit. And then Murphy scored as Wright got into a rundown on an inning-ending double play. 3-1 to Harris. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Willie has cooled down after his hot start. In fact, he's now struck out 10 times in 24 at-bats this season. Takes one the other way, a foul ball. You know what happened 49 years ago today? Mets played their first ever game in St. Louis at Sportsman Park. Roger Craig started, took the loss.
Well, I was going to say, I probably knew the outcome of that game.
Gil Hodges hit the Mets' first home run. 11-4 the final. Willie Harris draws a walk. And the Mets have a 2-out base run. Of course, they were supposed to play the day before, but they got rained out, which is a good thing because half the team got stuck in the elevator trying to get to the bus to get to the ballpark in what would have been the opener. Might have had to forfeit.
Might have been a closer score. It's only 9-0.
That's exactly right. Here's Josh Thole. Thole took an 0 for 5 in the game yesterday and struck out his last 2 at bats. Rare for him. Getting a 280 on the season.
Harris should be going here too. If the Mets have any theme tonight, maybe he's pushing the envelope a little against Hamill. get some runners in scoring position.
Mets have now stolen 11 bases. This is their 10th game. Mets have led the National League in stolen bases 5 of the last 6 years. And the only year they didn't lead, it was the Rockies who led the league in steals. Harris has 1 so far this year.
That's always been part of the Mets game with Reyes, Pagan, Beltran when he was healthy.
Right.
Not a surprise that the Mets are on top of the heap in stolen bases.
Now Harris fakes, doesn't go, and Tolley fouls it off.
This is when Tolley usually chokes up another inch or two, gets in that low crouch and tries to put the ball in play. It's Harris's lead.
Might as well go now. He's not, and Tolley takes just off the plate. 1-2.
For the left side of the infield, third baseman Ian Stewart is really taking that hole away from Josh. I was Tulowitzki. I'd get Tulowitzki shaded a little more to the opposite field. 2 strikes. Tolley likes to go the other way.
Goes down that, what Tony Gwynn used to call the 5.5 hole.
That's right. I mean, anything away, if you're going to pitch Tolley in, then he can play like that. But if you're going to pitch him away at all, you've got to play him almost like a right-handed hitter, because that's his best side.
Yeah, those good line drive hitters, with 2 strikes, they go up the middle. You got to shade him the opposite field a little bit. With 2 strikes.
There goes Harris. The curveball swung and fouled off. First big hook we've seen from Jason Hamill, and Tolley did well to stay in the at-bat.
Barely stayed in that at-bat.
Straight over the top. Kind of a hanging curveball, though, but nice job by Tolley, right on it, just a little late.
Mercedes-Benz Ultimo brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. Harris running last pitch. Running again, and Tolley goes the other way, base hit. Stewart closed the hole, but not enough. As Tolley rifles one to the opposite field, and the Mets have 2 on and 2 out.
If you have the defense that they had, you cannot pitch him away.
Oh, nice hitting by Josh.
So if nothing else, that clears the pitcher's spot here in the second as Mike Pelfrey steps up. Pelfrey 0 for 2 so far this season. Spent a considerable amount of time during spring training working on his hitting. Even went over and hit in a minor league game to try and get some reps.
This is an easy guy to guess on. He throws a lot of fastballs. You know you're going to get a first pitch fastball. Mike started early.
Ground ball, and Tulowitzki has a nice easy hop. Gets the force play to end the inning. So the Mets leave 2. On to the third we go at Citi Field with the Mets leading 1-0. Third inning brought to you by freescore.com. 3 credit scores, 1 place. That's just magnificent.
Sure is. I know I don't know how much you pay for that view.
Well, first you have to get the SNY helicopter.
Oh, we have a helicopter now?
Well, I guess we must have. How else did we get this shot?
Very nice. You might have to get that going for that trip to JFK on the afternoons.
That'd be a nice way for you to get to a game sometime.
Hey, maybe they can fly me in from Sag Harbor.
There you go.
That's going to happen.
Top of the batting order, Dexter Fowler leads off against Mike Pelfrey. And he misses wide. Only the third hitter Pelfrey has not thrown a first pitch strike to of the first 10. Fowler struck out his first time up. Dexter Fowler, who grew up in the Atlanta area, one that the Braves let get away. A unique combination of talents in that Fowler was recruited by the University of Miami to play baseball. He was recruited by Harvard to play basketball.
Wow.
And he turned them all down and signed with the Rockies out of high school. Good knee-high fastball by Pelfrey, and it's 1-2.
Interesting thing from the left side. Now, right side his swing's a little more level. A little upswing on from the left side. Uppercut.
Jonathan Herrera on deck. 1-2 to Fowler, and he fights it off.
I think I'd be a little worried after that swing, too. You got tied up inside big time.
When you have a guy like that, you read the bat, you got to stay in on him. You can't handle that pitch.
There was some serious studying going on there in that Rocky dugout.
Yes.
Baseball didn't used to be that academic, did it?
Yeah.
Bob Apodaca, longtime Rockies and former Mets pitching coach. Down to first base for Ike Davis to handle himself, and he beats the speedy Fowler to the bag for the first out. 1 out and nobody on. Well, there's been so much talk about Mike Pelfrey and Josh Thole and getting ready for this game. Kevin Burkhardt has the scoop. Kevin?
Well, I talked to Josh not only about this game, Gary, but just in terms of a whole series. You're dealing with Mike Pelfrey tonight, but you've got 3 more games against the Rockies with 3 different pitchers. And I asked him, how do you game plan? I mean, you're seeing generally the same hitters every day. Obviously, there's a couple of different guys in the lineup, but then you're doing it with pitchers that have different types of stuff. And he said, well, number one, you go into the game plan, of course, but you have to know what your pitcher's strengths are. He said, the game plan obviously changes because I can't ask a pitcher to do something that he's incapable of doing. So that's a big thing, and that changes on a day-to-day basis. He said, now, for example, say if a guy's a real good fastball hitter, obviously you can't totally stay away from the fastball, but you got to try and make the fastball look harder. How do you do that? Maybe if a guy has a good breaking ball, I'll throw that away in the dirt. And then the fastball comes high and in, and it looks a lot faster than it normally is. He said Chris Young has done a terrific job of that. His 86-mile-an-hour fastball looks 96. He said, to me, as a hitter, I've seen that. So there's little tricks of the trade, things like that to try and get it done. Obviously, Pelfrey had the comments last week that he didn't mean anything by it. He just wanted to get back to his roots here. But, Ronnie, I think that brings the question, when you're struggling as a starting pitcher, and when things aren't going right, and obviously there's communication. I mean, Thole and Pelfrey talk in the dugout. How tricky can that relationship be?
Well, that's a great question, Kevin. It's not tricky if you don't call out your catcher. I think it's very important for a starting pitcher. It's in your hands. The game is in your hands.
Herrera to shallow left, and Harris in, battling the lights, and loses the battle. And Herrera heads for second base, and he's in standing. Well, Harris had trouble with that right from the get-go. That ball clearly got caught in the lights, and he just could not figure it out.
You can see there's no question about him losing in the lights, and Herrera just continues to be hot and get on base, catching every break. And you can see right there,
he's trying to shield it with his hand, could not.
That's a frustrating feeling. It goes as a double for Herrera, who's now 2 for 2.
And there's that big bank of lights up there. Those in between kind of looping rainbow half line drive, half fly balls.
Gonzalez dead center field, but gone with plenty of room. Tagging at second, Herrera. That's the second out, and Herrera heads for third. He'll make it easily as David Wright comes all the way out to keep that ball from sailing away. 2 out.
And Kevin asked me a question before about the pitcher-catcher relationship, and you know the game is in your hands. Keith, I heard you say the other day, you know, the catcher doesn't get a win or a loss. It's the pitcher who gets the win or loss. So it's in your hands. You never want to call it your catcher, especially a young catcher, because you know I've never met a catcher who tries to put down the wrong finger for you. They're always trying to put down the right finger. The key is that you take charge. And Mike's been pitching way too long not to be the guy, as Bobby Ojeda says, large and in charge when he's out there. Always should be in charge.
Well, but Pelfrey made the point, and you know I don't know how prevalent this is for a guy who's been in the big leagues for 5 years. He says, I never shake off my catcher. I go with whatever he puts down.
Well, he's got to learn how to shake off or call the game himself from the mound, which you can do occasionally by just relaying your own signs to the catcher.
Well, Ronnie, there's also what the catcher feels maybe is a better pitch for you, right? I mean, early in the game, if you think something's better, trying to go with that and that dynamic.
Well, I think Josh Thole is he's such a sincere person. He's such an earnest person that he's doing everything he can to try to kind of get his pitcher through tough times. Anyone can catch when you have your awesome stuff you're dealing out there. You can throw anyone back there to catch. It's those days when you're struggling, you're trying to get a pitcher through 5 or 6 innings by mixing it up is the key. And don't forget, the other game, Pelf was saying that I should have thrown more fastballs. Almost every fastball he threw against the Phillies was a line drive. So as a catcher, you're thinking to yourself, boy, I got to throw something else because they're on his fastball tonight. That's what Josh's thinking was.
2-1 to Tulowitzki with the tying run at third and 2 down. Tulowitzki popped up his first time and he lays off. It's 3-1. Well, the 2 points that Terry Collins made were, A, if Pelfrey's ball doesn't sink, then he's in trouble no matter what.
Yeah.
And B, that if a pitch is not working early in the game, you can't abandon it. You have to figure out a way to get back to that pitch later on. And that's on Pelfrey and Thole. Tulowitzki takes one the other way, and that'll tie up the ball game. Herrera comes in to score. Troy Tulowitzki with his 7th run batted into the year, and it's a 1-1 game.
Well, that's a pretty doggone good pitch right here. He wants it in, misses on the other side of the plate, and that's a corner. And that's just pretty good hitting right there by Tulowitzki. Just kind of served it out there, Ronnie.
You know, we talked about it before in the National Series. Pudge Rodriguez going the other way. When you want an RBI, you don't have to get too fancy. Just get a base hit.
So that's 4 hits off Pelfrey, and now Seth Smith, who had a triple to the gap in right center in the 2nd inning. And he takes a fastball at the knees for a strike. Well, those were the first 2 outings. The first one in Florida ruined by the John Buck grand slam, and the second one just, there was nothing going on from the start for Pelfrey.
Never got out of first gear, did it?
Gave up a triple to Victorino to start the 1st inning, and it never got any better.
Well, that's 17 base runners in a little over 6 innings, and you can't make that work. I don't care who you are.
Well, he had a stretch like that in the middle of the season where he was putting up those same kinds of numbers for a 6 and 7 start stretch. And you know, I think one of the keys for any pitcher, and particularly a guy who you're looking at as a top of the rotation type starter, is to minimize those poor starts. They have those be, once every 2 months.
It's like minimizing a bad inning. As you see the pitch count so far from Mike, extremely high, and it's been that way throughout his first 2+ starts here.
One and 2 to Seth Smith, and he fights one off and just foul. Just inside out of that ball, right over the bag, with right playing about 30 feet off the line. Well, you see, last year he got off to the unbelievable start in April, and everything was going pretty well until late June when he started going south, and a stretch of about 7 starts, including the entire month of July, where he just couldn't get anybody out. But he got it back together in August and finished strong.
Well, if there's anything we've seen in Mike's career so far, is that he consistently will have streaks of inconsistency. When you watch him pitch, he'll go through streaks where he really struggles and it's hard for him to get it back on track. Last year he had a 27 inning scoreless streak, so he can have those also. So he's maybe not going to be the constant pounding every start kind of guy. He's going to have lapses.
Smith tied up. Did he go? Nope. Third base umpire Jim Joyce says no swing. 3-2.
You know, it's hard to compare anyone to Johan Santana, but when you watch Johan pitch, every start is just about the same. It's just maxed out, as good as you can get, and then every 8 or 9 starts there'll be a funny one, you know, where a team will hit a grand slam or hit some clutch base hits. Mike's not there yet.
Let's see if he opts to go inside here. Runner will be in motion.
Tulowitzki will take off. 3-2 to Smith, and the curveball misses down for ball 4. So he took a little different tack there, and he walked Smith. That's his first walk of the night. And now Ty Wigginton will come up with 2 men on. Wigginton took a call third strike his first time up.
I'll tell you, if you're Ty Wigginton, you've been around a long time, you struck out on a pitch inside, he'll be looking in early in the count.
Two on and 2 out, and Wigginton bounces one slowly. Who's going to play it? Davis in front of Murphy. Pelfrey covers and in time for the out to end the inning. So they get the 3-1 put out, limit the damage. 1-1, middle of the third. Even at 1. Mets flex packs, new for the 2011 season, are on sale now at Mets.com. Create a pack of 5, 11, or 17 games. Plus, all flex packs include a ticket for a bonus game. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com now for your tickets. Top of the batting order, Jose Reyes leads off at the bottom of the third. Reyes grounded out to start the first inning. First time in 8 games that he's not reached base to start the opening inning. And he takes a curveball for ball 1 from Jason Hamill. It'll be Reyes, then Murphy, and Wright in the bottom of the third. Reyes to deep right center field. Back goes Seth Smith. Near the warning track, can't get it. And Reyes is on his horse around second. He'll easily make it to third. And he cruises in with his first triple of the year. And then makes a break down the line as the Rockies are slow getting it in. A Reyes triple.
A lot of hang time there on that ball. Let's see Reyes' swing here. I think he got jammed just a tad. Not much, just enough for it not to get out. I thought Seth Smith just got a bad beat on it.
And the center fielder, Dexter Fowler, never got to the picture. So the go-ahead run at third, nobody out. The infield back for Daniel Murphy, and he takes a fastball for a strike.
Well, right down the pipe. You can see a little towards the label. That was the difference in that ball from not getting out of here.
Right, TV pitch differential. So Reyes didn't get aboard his first time, does his second. And Murphy takes inside. Murphy single to left, stole a base, and scored the only Met run in the first inning. Getting runners in from third with less than 2 out has been a chore for most of the Mets so far this season. Little tapper back to Hamill, so Murphy can't get the job done, and that's the first out. So far this year, Ike Davis, with a runner at third and less than 2 out, has gotten the run in 5 out of 7 times. The rest of the team, and I guess, do you give Beltran credit on the double play in the first inning? Probably not, since he doesn't get an RBI, right?
Okay.
So if you include that, the other Met players are 3 for 20. 3 for 20. I mean, average is about 55% getting that runner in from third. Somewhere between 55 and 60. That's just a big waste of opportunities.
Well, you hope there's a change in that statistic.
Well, David Wright gets a crack at it here with the infield back. Reyes at third and 1 out. Hamill with a good fastball away to get him started.
Boy, that was his best one all day, right on the outside corner, and his hardest fastball all day at 94.
You watch Jason Hamill, he's got some talent.
He does.
He's very inconsistent.
Well, he doesn't throw his breaking ball over for strikes. That's the thing that separates him from being a big winner.
And he gets ahead on right with another good fastball away, 0-2.
No, that is the pitch. If you're consistent with that fastball and you can locate it on the outside corner, David's plate coverage,
He can't cover it.
does not go there.
He's not covering it.
So now right in a 2-strike hole, needing to make contact, and takes it outside.
David now with 2 strikes. He's got to guard the plate, but we saw the 2 swings. He's not covering that outside corner. Next at bat, I think maybe you want to get a little closer.
Do guys make that kind of?
You can, absolutely.
But does it happen these days? Do you see it much? I know you talk about that happening sometimes, but do you think guys are more locked into where they stand now so that they don't make as many adjustments as maybe somebody did years ago?
Well, it's hard for us to pick up, Gary, in game because we're watching, every batter from both sides of the plate. I mean, Hamill right here just staying away. You think you'd probably pop him inside once and go back out there running. But there was one instance when I played, and I make it brief. Dick Ruthven was pitching in Chicago, and he was just painting the outside corner all day long. And then finally, the 4th at bat, I got on top of the plate, and I looked in. And I made it obvious that I was on top of the plate, that I was worried about that pitch out there.
David goes the other way. That'll get the run in. Smith with the grab, and Reyes can trot on home. And the Mets go back in front 2-1. Nice job by David Wright after getting to 2 strikes. And he rifles a sacrifice fly for his 7th run batted into the year.
And I think we got to give him credit for making an adjustment. The ball was away that entire at bat, even the breaking ball, and he said, you know what? I'm just going to shoot it that way.
Well, wants it away, and it's right down the middle. And David was just set up to go that way. Very nice. Go nice and level too. The good top hand. Well, to make a long story short off Ruthven, I made it very obvious that I moved closer to the plate, and I looked in. tried to deke him, and sure enough, first pitch was a fastball, and I hit a home run in Wrigley Field off. So those are the games you can play, Gary. It's a game, you know.
0-2 to Beltran. Beltran grounded into a double play as a run scored in the first inning. And he strikes out on the curveball to end the inning. First strikeout for Jason Hamill, but the Mets regain the lead. Mets leading 2-1 after 3. Jose Reyes legging out a triple and scoring the go-ahead run. When we come back, we're going to look at the legacy that Reyes is following. Colorado with the Mets leading 2-1. And he takes a strike from Mike Pelfrey. Stewart hit into a fielder's choice his first time up. One and one to Stewart with the 8 and 9 hitters, Iannetta and Hamill on deck. And Stewart, bluffing a bunt, takes a strike. Well, we talked about it in the open tonight. Mets have had a great legacy at shortstop of defensive players, but there's been nobody like Reyes in their history, a guy who can combine offense and defense. Little dribbler into the vacated spot, and it'll be a hit for Ian Stewart. With Reyes playing way off, with the right playing way off the line, no chance to make a play. I thought we'd take a look back at the shortstop position for the Mets. Buddy Harrelson was the Mets' first Gold Glover at shortstop. Just a tremendous defensive player in a very different era for shortstops, with guys like Mark Belanger, Ray Euler, the great defensive players who didn't hit a whole lot. Ray Ordonez, who won 3 Gold Gloves during his career and was, for my money, as good a defensive shortstop as the Mets have ever had. And you got Kevin Elster, who had those great soft hands, and Rafael Santana, who played for a championship team here in '86.
Then Frank Tavares. He's out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, Frankie was not at his best when he was a Met.
Came over from the Pirates.
Great base stealer. But I grew up with Buddy Harrelson at shortstop, and he was my favorite player as a kid because he was, the little guy who was a great fielder as Iannetta swings through one. And he's one of those guys who he endeared himself to everybody. You guys played for Buddy as a coach and as a manager.
And he went on to Philadelphia and played on with the Phils for quite some time. He was a smart player too. He knew the game. I mean, when Bud was our coach, our third base coach, our first base coach, and Bobby was there, I believe. And Buddy always was instructing the infielders. I always listened because Buddy was very wise. He knew the game, and I mean that seriously. He knew the game.
And when he played, I think he always had the reputation as a little gamer, you know. I mean, just from the fight with Rose alone in '73.
Well, I think that solidified that reputation, you know, to not back away from Pete Rose, who outweighed him by, what, 50, 60 pounds, and to roll around in the dirt with him. And, you know, Buddy would choke up on the bat. He'd use his speed and slap the ball around.
Yep. Get the runner over.
Iannetta hit by a pitch his first time up. But I often heard infielders talk about what a great teacher of the position Buddy was.
Well, he not only could teach it as far as where to catch the ball, how to approach a ground ball, but he also was the world's greatest breaking in a glove. I used to give him my gloves every spring training. He'd break them in at shortstop, and
Really?
he'd fit my hand perfect for the season. Buddy's hands were smaller than mine, so the glove would be really tight, and I'd get it.
Just missed from Pelfrey, 3-2. Of course, Buddy was a mainstay on a championship team in '69 that relied so heavily on its defense because they didn't have a whole lot of offense to go with that great pitching staff.
If I recall, Wayne Garrett was your third baseman in '69, and he hit under 200 that season.
Stewart runs and Iannetta fouls it out. Well, they had Cleon Jones at 340 that year, and they had Don Clendenin come over and hit a few home runs, but that was basically it. Tommy Agee had 26 home runs out of the leadoff spot, but it was a pitching and defense dominated team.
Well, I know the year prior, Tom Seaver used to always say that a Mets rally was a 3-1 count.
He had Agee at the top of the line too. Agee was a heck of a player. I liked Ken Boswell myself. He had around 280 that year, I believe.
But not a great defensive second baseman. Too high, ball 4, and Iannetta's on with a walk, so Pelfrey gives up an infield hit to the 7-hitter and walks the 8-hitter. And then there was Ray Ordonez, who was not much with the bat, but he just dazzled you. This was his first ever game as a Met when he threw out Royce Clayton at the plate on opening day. That got a lot of people's attention, throwing from his knees like that. He was spectacular. He had the signature play that he always made, which was sliding into the hole and going to his right.
He would slide to the ball, right, to cushion it, and then stand straight up and throw it.
I think Cookie Rojas had a lot to do with that infield. That was Bobby Valentine's third base coach, and Cookie was a no-nonsense guy, and Ray had tendency to lose focus, and Cookie had complete control. Plus, you had Fonzie over there at second base, who was a consummate professional.
Well, that infield was touted as perhaps the greatest ever. You had Olerud at first, Alfonso at second, Ordonez at short, and Robin Ventura at third. And I don't know. Can you make an argument against that? That quartet was pretty darn good.
I cannot argue against that. I cannot.
I don't know. How about Hernandez, Ozzie Smith? Who was the third base then?
Well, we're talking about. Oh, you're talking about baseball or Mets?
Well, they said. I mean,
baseball.
It was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. It said, with a question mark, best infield ever.
Well, that's a stretch. Come on.
That's why I asked the question. Hamill tries to bunt and fouls it off. Totally got it in the batter's box, and it's 0-2.
That was a very, very good infield, but to say that in the history of the game, that's a stretch. I mean, I'd say it's the best Met infield, without question.
But you had 4+ defensive players in Ordonez and Ventura, and I think Olerud too are plus defensive players. I mean, Alfonso's a guy who could play anywhere. He played second, short, and third in his career. But Ordonez, he was worth the price of admission just watching him on pop-ups, watching him on ground balls. I mean, you got to play with Ozzie Smith, who might be the best defensive shortstop ever. But Ordonez was, if he wasn't Ozzie, he was the next level below.
Yes, no question.
Hamill bunts it right with a great charge, throwing to third. Reyes with the relay, and he throws it away. Murphy couldn't knock it down, and runners will wind up at second and third. Well, it started out as a brilliant play as the Mets ran the wheel, and Wright throwing to Reyes for the force, but Reyes throwing wide to first.
Well, I'm not sure how it happened, but the Rockies ended up with guys on second and third after this play.
The wheel play here. Watch Reyes.
You got to swing the bat if you're Hamill.
Now you can cover it. It's a good bunt. Right, very aggressive. Perfect throw. If Reyes makes the throw, it's a double play. They've got it doubled up. That's the beauty of the wheel play. You got both corners charging hard. Nice job by David. And, you know, Reyes is not accustomed to making a throw from over there. So I guess, Ron, that's didn't work out as planned, but it's a sacrifice. They're second and third.
Well, it goes the 5-6 force play, and then an error on Reyes, moving the runners up, and now Fowler bats with two in scoring position, and with his speed, the corners pinch in with the middle infielders back.
Well, for me, more importantly, it's a manager making a decision to be aggressive on a bunt situation.
Well,
haven't seen that forever.
When is the last time we saw the Mets run a wheel play?
Yep.
Ever. Willie Randolph never did. Jerry Manuel never did.
I've got a good memory, not since I've been
That's 5-6 years of never running a wheel play, and it's nice to see. And it worked out the way it was supposed to, just Reyes made a bad throw.
Well, that's the personality of the manager there. He's aggressive. Saw earlier in the second inning, bringing the infield in.
Fowler has struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. And it's at the knees for a strike, 1 and 2.
How many fastballs have you seen hitters take so far, Keith, this early season? We've seen a lot of it.
A lot of guessing going on.
Maybe there's guessing. Yeah, exactly.
Iannetta, slow runner at third. Hamill also slow at second. So it would take a pretty good fly ball to get a run in. Fowler with 2 RBIs so far this year. Rockies are 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position in this game, and it's only the 4th inning. Here's the 1-2. He lifts it to center, not all that deep. Iannetta tagging. Pagan's got a good arm. Here comes Iannetta. Here comes Pagan's throw to the plate, and Iannetta's able to score to tie up the ball game. Sacrifice fly for Fowler. His 3rd run batted into the season, and it's 2-2.
Pagan catches the ball on the other side, one-handed, and on the opposite side of his throwing arm. Now you want to, you kids, you see the tag up here, and the runner on second is tagging up. He's just going to try to draw the cutoff.
So 2 out. Here's Herrera with the go-ahead run at second base. Herrera 2 for 2, and he takes high ball 1.
Well, we're talking about Pagan catching the ball on his glove side. He came in charging. If you catch it over here, then you got to transfer here. You want to catch here with 2 hands, so it's boom, less motion. Now watch him catch it on his glove side and one-handed. Look where his arm is, and now he's got to bring it all the way across his body to make the throw. You want to kind of catch it more in front of you and your 2 hands, so there's an easy quick transfer in it. A split second might be that extra second, or not that extra second, that less of a second could be the difference in throwing someone out and not. Was I clear with that?
Yes, you got it.
Save time where you can.
Were you paying attention at home, folks?
Herrera pops one up. Reyes retreating. And he makes the catch in front of Harris to end the inning. But Reyes' error sets up an unearned run that allows the Rockies to tie it up 2-2. coming into the dugout after making that throwing error on the wheel play, trying for a double play, and Terry Collins coming right over to make sure that everybody knows what transpired there. Chip Hale was the infield coach, making sure to get his piece in as well.
Well, you know what? Physical errors happen. They happen. It was the right play. Just didn't make the throw.
And I think Collins approached it that way. He's saying, listen, I love the aggressiveness of how you made that throw. And then you had Chip Hale with the instruction. Make sure you get on top of that throw. If you from the side at all, it's always going to work its way towards the dugout.
Well, you know, it's interesting. We were talking about the fact that the Mets really haven't run a wheel play since Reyes has been here. As Davis hits one into the shift, but off the glove of Tulowitzki, and Davis is aboard. So after Reyes made an error, we're talking about shortstops today, in the top of the inning, Tulowitzki has one clank off his glove in the bottom of the inning.
Well, let's see what they're going to score this. This could be a home book hit here. Let's see.
There's a bullet.
That play usually makes him sleep.
Yes, but they're going to give him a hit. Watch.
They've not yet announced hit or error. Angel Pagan coming up. But I was going to say that the Mets haven't run a wheel play in so long. Reyes is making a throw from an angle that he's never made probably in his career, right?
Well, it's never.
Does that have anything to do with that?
Well, it's never made in a game. He's made the throw when they do it in spring training. But if you ever watch that done in spring training, the guy who covers third, the shortstop, usually lollipops the ball over the first base, never makes that hard, accurate throw. So it's a different little throw. But it's a play that, you know, it happens. People, you know, throw it away sometimes.
They've scored that error on Tulowitzki, by the way. Pagan fouls it off 0-2. The other piece to that is, and it was a terrible throw, so there was never a chance for Murphy, but you got Murphy, the second baseman, with the small glove at first base. How much of a difference does that make on that kind of a throw from third to first?
Well, you know, I mean, an accurate throw probably gets the pitcher there. It definitely makes a difference, but
Jose used to turn double plays. He used to throw in more three-quarters. He didn't come over the top there. That ball kind of ran, you know, down the line when you kind of threw it like he normally throws on a double play ball. So on those long throws across the field, you always kind of want to get more on top and throw a dart.
Well, the Mets have twice taken the lead in this game, and the Rockies have tied it up each time. Now with the leadoff man on, Pagan takes the breaking ball down 1-2.
They didn't go with an error, I see. So, tough home book.
To me, the most important thing was that the Mets are playing aggressive baseball. Don't forget, not only the wheel play, earlier in this game, they were winning 1-0, and they brought the infield in and cut off a run. They're just trying the little tricks of the trade. I like it.
It's a different style of managing than what we've seen, without question.
I thought for a minute there, Red Foley was back doing the scorekeeping. It was tough to get a hit off of the home book hit from Red. He wouldn't give you a home book hit if you went up and got on your knees and begged him.
By the way, since you're bringing up the subject of official scoring, we should really note that since we last convened here at Citi Field, the passing of Bill Shannon. Ground ball and under the glove of Stewart and into left field. Davis pulls in at second. So two infield mistakes by the Colorado Rockies, and the Mets have the first two men on in the fourth.
Well, that's a big. He misplayed this ball. He could have gone back and got the long hop. Instead, he played the in-between hop. You can go. Well, that's a tough chance right there. He had to get to the hole.
And there will be an error charge to Ian Stewart. So back-to-back errors on the Colorado infield with Willie Harris coming up. Anyway, Bill Shannon was the lead official scorer here for many, many years, and such an incredibly interesting individual to boot. He even wrote the book, literally, on official scoring, and he passed away during the offseason in a terrible fire in New Jersey. And the baseball community lost in a really important person when Bill Shannon passed away. And there was a memorial service for him during the winter, and it was well attended by people from every aspect of the baseball world. It was something to behold. Pulled down the line by Harris. That's an extra base hit going to the corner. Davis will score easily. Pagan racing for third. He'll be waved around. Pagan heads for the plate and he scores. A two-run double for Willie Harris, and the Mets regain the lead 4-2. So the Mets take advantage of the two Colorado errors and go right back in front.
Well, they had him playing into the corners, not the first baseman, but they had Ian Stewart playing in and could have bunted here. But you see, playing aggressively. And you know what? When there's a little bit of doubt in the pitcher's mind, you're hitting. First ball, fastball hit, and get out of that box. Nicely done, Mr. Harris. And with those speed merchants on the base, forget it.
So Willie Harris, who struggled yesterday at the plate, but with runners in scoring position, he's now 4 for 8 this year. And he comes up with a hit that puts the Mets back in front as Bob Apodaca talks to Hamill at the mound. Jonas Schwartz and Joe Beningo will break down tonight's Mets-Rockies series opener, plus have a preview of tomorrow's Game 2 matchup with insider info and exclusive interviews on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, part of the New York Sports Local, tomorrow at 5 on SNY. Well, the Mets have 2 unearned runs home in the 4th, and now Josh Thole will try and add to it with Harris at second and nobody out. Josh had a base hit the other way his first time up. Mets now with 5 hits off Jason Hamill.
Got a left-hander run, trying to pull the ball, get the runner over.
Popped up and shallow center, Fowler under it. Harris tagging, but he's going nowhere. Ball not hit deep enough, and so Thole can't move the runner. 1 away.
Kind of a moot point, but a left-handed hitter, Ron, that goes the other way well. He's looking to pull the ball to advance the runner. Where would you like to pitch him?
Well, I think you'd like to pitch him away and down. The only problem you have there is because they've chosen to play a defense position where they're off the line, and giving him that line, it's hard. It's real dangerous to do that. I'm also taking my chances and not thinking that way, Keith, because I don't care if he pulls the ball and makes an out. I have the pitcher up next. I feel like I'm going to have 2 outs, and then I have to get the leadoff hitter out to get out of the inning.
Pelfrey hit it to a fielder's choice his first time up, and that was going to be my other question about that. If you're Josh Thole in that situation, as Pelfrey hits one to shortstop and Tulowitzki makes the play, are you even thinking about hitting the ball to the right side, or are you thinking about trying to get a base hit, maybe taking it to left field if you have to, because that's your game, with Pelfrey the next guy up?
Yeah, I think that, well, Keith can say it better, but I don't think, anytime you hit in front of the pitcher, you're trying to get a hit, you know, and then maybe with 2 strikes try to fight something off and put it in play, but you are definitely trying to get a hit, because you can't count on the pitcher, especially Pelfrey, to get one.
Anytime you're in an RBI situation, Garrett, getting him over second best, number 1 is driving him in. Look for something to pull and drive him in.
Here's Reyes with a runner at 3rd and 2 out, and he takes the off-speed pitch for ball 1. Reyes banged a long triple to right center in the 3rd inning, his first triple of the season, and scored a run. Jose now has a 9-game hitting streak going. And Hamill falls behind 2-0.
Boy, this back and forth between these 2 teams in this game so far, we're going to have to go to the cards and the judges for the decision in this one.
Harris, who drove in a pair with a double, standing at 3rd with 2 out. And Reyes takes a strike, 2-1. Hamill's broken out his changeup here. Fastball foul back, 2-2.
Maybe why that's the Rockies have had such tough luck here in Flushing is that they do stuff that they usually don't do, and that's infield defense was porous in that inning. I mean, you would think that Hamill would have had 2 outs and Harris up at one point, but it didn't work out that way.
Well, the Rockies' troubles in Flushing go all the way back to the first game they ever played, 1993. The first game in the history of the Rockies franchise was at Shea Stadium, and they lost. Curveball popped up, shallow center. Fowler jogging in. Doc Gooden beat David Need in that first game, shut the Rockies out. 4-2 New York. Takes a lead to the mound. Rockies have rallied to tie twice. Now the Mets with a couple of unearned runs of a 4-2 lead as we start the fifth. Heart of the batting order for Colorado. Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, and Smith. Carlos Gonzalez has struck out and fly to center 0 for 2. Last year's National League batting champ. He had .336. And he takes ball one. You know, we've been talking about shortstops all night long, and we've talked about some of the great Mets shortstops in the past, but maybe the most underrated shortstop the Mets have ever had was the guy you played with in '86 to win a championship, Rafael Santana. To the right side, Murphy with a diving stop, gets to his feet and throws him out. What a play by Daniel Murphy.
How about that? Nice play, Murph. Gets up off balance and with the proper throw, too. Very nice play. Keep doing that. Get some more time in that lineup. Nice play. Got a good break on it. Good range.
And the ability of a guy who's not normally a middle infielder to know how much ground he has to give on a play like that. Here's Tulowitzki taking the
ball. The angle's the key, because if he didn't take that angle, if you watch that ball off Gonzalez's bat, had that big top spin on it. So it would have beat him if he took a little shorter angle. Nice job by Murph.
Tulowitzki drove in a run with a base hit his last time up. He's 1 for 2 on the day. But what about Santana? I mean, people so much overlook Rafi when they talk about the '86 team. What did he bring to the table?
Well, Rafi was a great teammate, number one, and he was a character. He told jokes, always had a smile on his face. His value there to the ball club. He didn't have the greatest of range, didn't have the greatest arm of shortstops, but he hit 8th in our lineup, Gare, and a lot of times he flipped that lineup over for us and got that pitcher up, Ron, remember?
He really did. And the one thing about Rafi is that he made the steady play. That was the key, because with that pitching staff, if you could just make the steady play and not make any errors, then at some point the staff was not going to give up 3, 4, 5 hits in a row. It just didn't happen.
He's a dear friend, let me tell you.
One of the great guys of all time.
Favorite teammates. He's still in the game. I believe he's involved in minor leagues with Kansas City last time I talked with Ralphie.
Belfry walked Tulowitzki, his 3rd of the night. And now Seth Smith takes the strike.
Was Ralphie the only Latin player we had in that team?
I think it might have been.
And he just blended right in. It was like he was just, you put him in any situation, he should have been a salesman.
And other guys with Hispanic names.
That's true.
He was everyone's best friend. He really was. Rafi Santana. Look at that pitch count, 95, not even out of the 5th yet for Mike Pelfrey.
Thought we had Sid, the Portuguese.
Right, you had a Fernandez and a Hernandez,
yes.
But
Ojeda.
Had a Spaniard, and Aguilera, another Spaniard.
Here's the 1-1. And Smith hits one out to center field. And Pagan has plenty of room. Tracks it down. Tulowitzki tagging it first. Saw Pagan catch it on his heels and takes the extra base. Great base running by Tulowitzki. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, guys, you know, when the Mets fans don't get to see a player like Tulowitzki all the time, you know, you don't really necessarily know how good the guy is. And, you know, play like that, smart, heads up. Talked to a scout today and said, give me some insight. What do you like about Tulowitzki? He said, what don't I like? I mean, you can start anywhere. You go from his range, his short, to his arm, to his power. But I think the thing about him is his toughness. That he plays through pain, plays through injuries a lot more than people think. And he is tough on the baseball field. He's a tremendous, tremendous leader. So there's really not too much not to like, but he really loved the fact that he played through, you know, little pain, little nicks and little bruises. He said a lot of times people don't even know about what he does out there. Guys?
Well, that's one of the reasons why they gave him a 10-year contract.
What's amazing about Tulowitzki is, you know, he's still a relatively young player, but he took over the leadership reins of that Colorado team almost from the first day he walked in the door, and that That to me is, correct me if I'm wrong, a very rare thing in this game.
It never happens, especially a team that was fighting in the playoffs. And I remember Jamie Quirk was one of their coaches. Also, Walt Weiss was there. And I went in and I asked them during the playoffs, I said, how's this Tulo kid? They said, boy, you're going to love him. He is just one of the great kids, great leaders, serious about the game. He says when he gets, when the game's done, he'll have fun like anyone else. But during the game, there's no smiles, there's no chuckles, there's no high and low fives. It's all about serious baseball.
And how often do you see an organization commit 10 years to a young man? Now, granted, the contract runs out. He's going to be, what, 36 years old? That's a heck of a long commitment. And that shows how they feel about him.
They talk in Colorado about how in the spring of '97, now he had played 25 games in the big leagues the year before in '96. Spring of '97, there was a pitcher on the mound for the Rockies having some trouble, and he went to the mound and aired him out. And he said that's when they knew. Wigginton flies out to end the inning. A walk and one left. Mike Pelfrey halfway through has a 4-2 lead.
Mets with a 4-2 lead here at Citi Field, and Daniel Murphy's had a big hand in that, getting the start at second base tonight. He's got a hit, he's got a steal, he's got a run, and he just made a whale of a play at second base to take away a hit from Carlos Gonzalez. And I talked to Murphy before the game about the importance to bench players of how Terry Collins has used these guys, not only getting them pinch hitting chances, but also getting them in games, getting them starts. And he said, it's just pivotal. I can't even tell you. He said, I feel like I've had an at-bat a night. And, the thing is, with getting that type of involvement, tonight I got the start. And, sometimes when you do that, if you're not playing, you don't play for 4 or 5 days, it takes you a couple of bats to get into the game. As Murphy goes down on strikes here, said tonight, I feel like I'll be ready by first pitch. And he was. He got a base hit his first time up. So the bench certainly being involved and feeling that way early on. Guys?
Well, Terry has said that he wants to get each bench player a start a week. It's hard to always do that, but I think so far he's certainly been true to that.
Well, I think it shows a manager who has confidence not only in himself but also in the team, because that's a long run, short run issue. There's a lot of managers that want to trot out all your best players every single day because imperative that you win every day, but it's a long 6 months, and sometimes this team is going to need all 25. This is not a team that you trot out and they have an all-star lineup every night. You're going to need all 25 guys.
And that doesn't only apply to your bench players, it also applies to your bullpen. And Terry even made that point today when asked about why he didn't pitch Bobby Parnell yesterday. He said, hey, none of these guys has thrown 3 days in a row. We're going to ease into that. We're not going to do that right from the start of the season because it's about the long run.
Well, when you're everyday players, it's a long year, and you want them. If you're going to be in the hunt, you're going to go to the whip in August and September, and you want to be able to go to the whip with your everyday players and have them strong and fresh for the push, for the big push until the final 6-7 weeks of the season. And the old adage, I mean, you sit there, my goodness, strike three, swung right through a fastball.
Second straight strikeout for Jason Hamill as he gets David Wright. We're in the Mercedes Ultra Mode, brought to you by your Tri-State dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com.
Let me ask you then, is it a feeling that you get from the manager, or is there a physical going to the whip with your everyday players in August? You know, is there a speech that is said? Or is it just a conversation that a manager will have with you during batting practice and say, hey, you know what, it's time to go?
You're in the hunt. I expected to play every day the last 50 games of the year, 45, 50 games of the year. And I'd played pretty much over 150 games a year my whole career. And so I wanted to play every day. I really did. I didn't want to be out of the lineup.
Beltran hits one out to left center. Rosengrant Gonzalez and Fowler makes the grab. That was almost a disaster for the Rockies, but Fowler makes the catch and the inning is over. So the Mets go 1-2-3 for the first time tonight. Almost an accident. Time when it wasn't crowded, like maybe 4 a.m. As we go to the 6th inning, Mike Pelfrey pitching in the 6th for the first time this season, and Ian Stewart fouls one off. Pelfrey over 100 pitches, so this could well be his last go-round, facing the lower third of the order for the Rockies. Stewart, Iannetta, and then the pitcher's spot. Interesting for Jim Tracy here in the 6th inning. He does not have anybody in the bullpen because Hamill's thrown only 78 pitches. So down by 2 runs, it looks like he intends to have his pitcher back. Stewart is 1 for 2, an infield hit in the 4th. A ball and 2 strikes to the Rockies' third baseman. Now that's a small sample, obviously. 2 bad starts. Still a lot of pitches, even tonight when he's pitched a whole lot better. Out to left field, chasing Harris back, fielding for the wall, which isn't even close. He's got to get used to Citi Field. There's a lot of room to run out there. 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Chris Carlin for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break.
Oh,
So
boy.
Daisuke tonight, the anti-Beckett.
Yeah, Beckett was awesome last night.
There's Chris Iannetta with 1 out, and he takes a strike. Beckett 7 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts last night. Well, there's Ryota Igarashi, just called up today. He, along with Jason Isringhausen, up to 4-5 the Mets bullpen. That's now going with 13 pitchers and only 4 bench players, which will certainly help in terms of spreading out the workload in the pen.
Igarashi, who got 4 outs in last night's ball game in Buffalo.
Pronounced himself fresh and ready to go. Isringhausen had been throwing in extended spring, throwing in some squad games, and he hasn't pitched since Saturday, so he's available as well. There's Hamill on deck. Igarashi was an afterthought in spring training this year, after obviously coming in highly touted last year, getting off to a good start, and then really struggling for most of the season. But when we saw him this spring, he looked pretty good. Came in on a minor league contract.
I've always liked his stuff. And if you recall last year, Gary, he got off to a good start. He was throwing great, and he got that swinging bunt, and he pulled his hamstring. He never was the same after that. And his tendency is to overthrow. Am I right, Ron?
Yes, you definitely are. The great thing about Igarashi, I think, which changed my perception of him this spring training, was the use of his curveball again.
He took that pitch away from him last year, and now he has it back. Full count to Iannetta. Go with that 95-mile-an-hour fastball and splitter.
Thought that was a mistake. The reason I think it's a mistake, it's hard enough to come to a new country, learn how to throw a new baseball, pitch in the biggest, the best league in the world, and then first thing they tell you is to take away one of your pitches. That was a mistake.
And really a veteran pitcher. Yeah, he's the guy, the veteran of the Japanese leagues. Come on.
Seventh pitch of the at bat to Iannetta, and he ties him up. Did he go? They check it first. No swing.
Got a pinch hit here now, don't you?
That's 4 walks now for Pelfrey. Wow. And Hamill is going to come to bat. SNY is giving back to local youth baseball leagues with the SNY Play Ball Award presented by Sports Authority, offering $5,000 grants to in-need organizations to be used for new equipment, uniforms, or field improvements. The deadline to apply is June 15th. For details, visit sny.tv or any local Sports Authority location. Jim Tracy figures he'll have more opportunities as this game progresses. Hit and run play with Hamill, and Murphy can't get it, and Hamill has himself a base hit. And the Rockies have first and third and nobody out. So Tracy sticks with his pitcher, and he executes a perfect hit and run.
That is amazing, Cole. You got a pitcher here. Oh, it's a Butcher Boy. How about that?
Might not have been a hit and run. The only reason I say that, well, it is running. It definitely is. He was running.
That's a gutty call right there by Jim Tracy.
Now Terry Collins on his way out to the mound. Pelfrey at 113 pitches, so he is done for the night. And Ryota Igarashi, just back from the minor leagues, will get the call with the tying runs on base and 1 out here in the 6th. Rockies continues tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Tickets start at $10. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. John Neese goes tomorrow night, but Mike Pelfrey done in this game after 113 pitches over 5 1/3. A better outing for Pelfrey tonight. Leaves with the lead. And Ryota Igarashi makes his first appearance of the season.
Well, Igarashi last season, you can see the numbers, that high ERA. As Keith said, he got off to a quick start, injured, and never came back, or didn't seem to be healthy on his way back.
Dexter Fowler, first man to face him, and he takes the fastball off the plate. Fowler had a sacrifice fly to drive in a run of the fourth, 0 for 2. So a walk to the number 8 hitter and a hit and run single by the pitcher Hamill, putting Pelfrey in trouble in the 6th, and now Igarashi trying to bail him out. Sandy Alderson making the announcements yesterday as Tim Burdack gets up in the bullpen that the Mets would be fortifying their bullpen, said now we got the Iggy and Izzy show. Hoping that the bullpen can solidify itself a little bit. It's been a rough go for the most part, but Igarashi falls behind Fowler 3-0. You see the two newcomers with Lucas Duda sent out and Lane Boyer designated for assignment. The Mets bullpen in 34 1/3 innings this year has given up 45 hits and 16 walks. That's 61 base runners. Well, actually 63 if you count a couple of hit batsmen. 63 base runners in 34 1/3 innings. And that's just untenable.
Interesting. Igarashi has changed his motion. He is much lower than he was last season, where he kind of just rocked and fired and tried to throw that ball as hard as he could. He is really using his legs more and getting a little more movement down in the strike zone.
3-1 to Dexter Fowler. And the fastball misses, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So Igarashi comes in, walks the first man to face him.
Well, that was a problem for Igarashi last season. As you see that motion, that leg goes out and a drive off that back leg. But he had 18 walks in only 30 innings last season, so that was a problem. Yeah, a lot lower than he was last season.
Well, the Rockies have had plenty of chances tonight. They're 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Jonathan Herrera steps in. He's 2 for 3, a single and a double. And he scored a run. Tough man to double up with speed from the left side. And Igarashi struggling to throw strikes. Pedro Beato joins Tim Burdack in the bullpen. Terry Collins has not shown a lot of patience as far as his relief pitchers walking people. So you bring in a new pitcher, and what does he do? He walks the first man to face him. And Herrera takes a fastball for a strike.
He got a call there.
Ball starts middle and just runs on the outside.
Oh boy, he got a call there. That was not a strike. Nicely framed by Josh.
And Herrera hits one back to Igarashi. And a high throw. Tolley has to go back to find the plate, and that costs them any chance for a double play. They get the second out, but if Igarashi makes a good throw, it's probably a 1-2-3 double play.
It is. A nice presence of mind by Tolley to get back to the base here and get the force. Boy, oh boy.
And you say to yourself, how could a pitcher do that? You know, they're used to throwing that ball to the plate. It's just nervous reaction, and you try to rush the throw. You see it all the time. All you have to do, stand up straight and make an accurate throw. It doesn't have to be a quick throw. Accurate throw, you'll get the runners.
So the inning continues, and Carlos Gonzalez will come up. Gonzalez 0 for 3 was robbed of a base hit on a great diving stop by Daniel Murphy, leading off in the 5th. Let's turn that infield toward the right against Gonzalez. Bases loaded, 2 down, with the Mets protecting a 2-run lead. And it's taken low, ball 1.
Well, if you're sitting on the bench for the Rockies, you have to be watching this, and Igarashi has not thrown anything but a fastball so far.
And if you're wondering why Collins has not brought in Burdack, he's only got one lefty out there. There's a lot of game left.
And Gonzalez last year hit .320 against lefties, so you didn't gain a whole lot against him. Pedro Beato continues to throw. Burdick sitting down. Not brought in to face Gonzalez. You got the right hand hitting Tulowitzki on deck. On 1-0, there's a split for a strike.
Pretty good pitch right there. 1-0, one to take. All the good hitters know. Okay, 1-0. My count. I am not going to swing at an off-speed splitter on the outside corner knee high.
Tulowitzki would be next. One and one to Gonzalez, and that fastball misses low. 2-1.
Gonzalez has such a nice eye at the plate. He just looks like a hitter, doesn't he? He just looks like a hitter.
Now Igarashi on the 1-0 count came and countered with the split finger. Can he do that again on the 2-1 count? Dangerous, because if you miss with the bases loaded, now you're in big trouble.
Takes a look at Fowler at second base, with Reyes playing behind him, but deep behind him. There's that Met bullpen, which has really struggled early in the season. Used a lot and struggling.
Good pitch.
Good fastball by Igarashi. 2-2.
Tied him up in. Came after him inside. He wasn't intent. Totally was set up away.
Broken back grounder toward the hole. Reyes can't get it. Base hit. Hamill scores. Fowler scores, and the game is tied. The Mets had the shift on. Gonzalez broke his bat, but had enough on it to sneak it through the infield. A 2-run single to tie the game at 4.
Well, as I've always watched Reyes at the top of your screen where he's positioned, I've always felt, and I said it earlier in the game, guys, when the hitter's got 2 strikes on him and a line drive hitter, as Gonzalez is, shift over with 2 strikes a little bit. Don't shade so much to pull. And that was a C&I dog right there. I mean, that was just a bleeder that got through the infield.
Would have scored 1 run anyway, because I don't think Reyes had an out even if he had tracked the ball down. But because it got through, that enabled Fowler to score the 2nd run and tie the game. So Pelfrey now no longer has a chance to win. Here's Tulowitzki with 2 out and 2 on. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Tulowitzki drove in a run with a 2-out single in the 3rd. He's also walked 1 for 2.
That's unfortunate because Igarashi made a nice pitch there. He broke his bat.
So the book closed on Pelfrey. He gives up 4 runs, 3 of them earned on 6 hits, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, and a hit batsman over 5 1/3.
Tulowitzki drives one to left field. Willie Harris going back, feeling for that wall again, and gets there to make the grab. So Tulowitzki making a bid for a 3-run homer comes up a little short, but the Rockies rally to tie it in the 6th.
three shortstops in the Hall of Fame with 3,000 hits.
Old guys.
Well, the new old Met, Jason Isringhausen, his last pitch as a Met came 12 years ago, is up in the bullpen. Ike Davis leads off, takes a curveball for a strike from Jason Hamill, who's back even now. 3 times in this game the Mets have taken leads, and all 3 times the Rockies have come back to tie. 38-year-old Jason Isringhausen. The only thing that's changed is instead of we're at 44, we're at 45. And maybe he's a little thicker than he was back in the day as part of Generation K, when the Mets had those 3 highly touted starting pitchers, Isringhausen, Bill Pulsipher, and Paul Wilson. As he came up in '95, went 9-2 the second half of the year. And there was every reason to think that he was going to be a star, but injuries and some off-the-field issues got in his way, and that's finally built him away in the '99 season, thinking they needed bullpen help. Turned out they had bullpen help, they just didn't know it. And Izzy became a star closer in Oakland and then in St. Louis.
Could have called me. I was playing with Billy Taylor. I played with him before he tried to call me. I would let you know. Give you the skinny.
Well, they were known as Generation K. Paul Wilson was a #1 overall draft pick out of Florida State. Isringhausen and Pulsipher, all with tremendous talent, but injuries sidetracked really all 3 of them. Wilson came back and had a couple of pretty good years, particularly in Cincinnati, but was never what he could have been had he not gotten hurt. And Pulsipher is still, I think he's still pitching in one of the independent leagues in the Atlantic League. Just loves the game. Ike Davis hits one to center field, and Fowler barely has to move. 1 out.
Well, maybe Matt Harvey will stay healthy and have the career that maybe Paul Wilson should have had if he had kept his health.
Paul Wilson was a hard worker too. That kid worked so hard to come back. I felt so badly for him because he had terrific stuff.
He was touted here like maybe Pryor was touted. Mark Pryor when he was with the Cubs.
Here's Angel Pagan, who's 0 for 2. Reached on an error and scored a run his last time up. And Jim Tracy pushing the right button, leaving Jason Hamill into bat in the top of the inning. Got a hit, scored a run, and now he's back even again. He's still got a starter in the game.
Got a hit on a hit and run. Put the hit and run on. Just really rolled the dice.
And keep in mind, the Rockies have one of the best bullpens in the National League, so it's not like Tracy was afraid to go to the bullpen. Houston Street is their closer, but they've got some fine setup men. Matt Lindstrom has been a closer. Rafael Betancourt, who's been one of the best 8th inning guys in the majors the last half dozen years. They've got a couple of lefties out there. Too high, and it's 2-2 to Pagan. Rockies are off to a good start this year. They're 6-2, and you know, in a division where San Diego surprised last year and the Giants wound up winning the World Series, Rockies may be the best team in that division.
Curveball lined the other way, a base hit for Pagan. Chased to the line by Gonzalez, cuts it off quickly. Pagan trying for 2. Gonzalez, and Pagan is out by a mile. Well, Carlos Gonzalez won a Gold Glove last year, and there's a reason. He's fast, he's got a great arm, and Pagan tested him and lost.
Look at this throw. That is a seed right to the bag, and good attempt, good aggressive base running by Pagan here. That is a heck of a play.
I haven't seen a throw like that in Flushing since Andy Chavez.
Exactly the way Andy used to do it too.
Nice tag by Herrera. Nice play, young man.
Well, he's a center fielder playing left field, and has tremendous athletic ability and shows off the arm to keep that go-ahead run out of scoring position. 2 out and nobody on. Willie Harris, who had a 2-run double that gave the Mets the lead in the 4th inning. He's also walked tonight. Tim Burdick back up alongside Jason Isringhausen. Seth Smith, a left-hand batter, is due to lead off for the Rockies in the 7th. slowly hit down to first for Wigginton, and that retires the side. Through 6 at Citi Field, tied at 4. Toyota. Toyota offers fuel efficiency you'll love, only better. By Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. And by Verizon Fios. Switch to Fios and network ahead. To learn more, visit verizon.com/getFios. Brian Custer, Brandon Tierney, and Mark Malusis will share their thoughts on tomorrow's John Neese start. Plus, get an inside look at the Yanks series opener against the Orioles in the Wheelhouse. Presented by Pepsi, part of New York Sports Local, tomorrow at 5:30 on SNY. Tim Burdick comes on in relief as we go to the 7th inning.
Well, he's appeared in 5 games so far. He's given up a home run. Batting average against. He's been good against the left-handers. The right-handers have given him a problem so far.
And brought in to face the left-hander Seth Smith, who is 1 for 2 on the day. A long triple, a walk, and a deep fly ball. Well, in the mess that was the Mets bullpen yesterday, Burdick was successful, faced 1 batter, and struck out Lance Nix as a pinch hitter in the 9th inning. Gave way to K-Rod, who then got his man out. But extra innings not quite as formidable for that bullpen. 2-1 to Smith with Wigginton and Stewart to follow. So the Rockies go left, right, left here in the 7th. And the Mets, who now have an 8-man bullpen, keep the bullpen busy as Jason Isringhausen appears about ready to go. 2-2 to Smith. 37-year-old Tim Burdick. Pitched in Houston the last 3 years. And Smith hits one toward the gap. Pagan on the run, won't get to it, and it rolls to the wall. Smith with his 2nd extra base hit of the night. He's at second base with a leadoff double. Seth Smith has swung the bat well all night. Now has 6 extra base hits on the season.
4th double of the year. It's a slider up. Stayed right with it. This is what you call a hanger right here. Belt high, stays on the same plane. He stays right in there. And that ball's just slicing away from Angel.
The Rockies have never led. Mets have had 3 separate leads. 1-0, 2-1, 4-2. Each time the Rockies have come back to tie. Now Colorado trying to go in front for the first time as Ty Wigginton takes the slider low and in for ball one. The Rockies have already had 13 at bats with runners in scoring position, just 2 for 13. They've got 4 runs and 8 hits, and a tough road to hoe here for Burdack after the leadoff double. Staying in to face the right-hand batting Wigginton. And he gets the fastball by him, 1-1. Wigginton tonight 0 for 3, took a call third strike, grounded to first and fly to center. Ty now playing with his 6th different major league team.
Big hole between shortstop and third. David right on the line because of propensity for Burdack to throw that slider down and into the right-handed hitter. Opens up that hole. And David also, is he playing shallow, or maybe he should play a little deeper?
Now it's 1-2.
Smith does not have tons of speed, so not going to steal the base on you.
Well, if you're Wigginton, you have to be thinking of hitting that ball to the right side here with the left-hand batting Stewart on deck.
2 strikes behind the count now. You got to be protecting the plate.
Oh, well up high, 2-2.
Well, the counter for Burdack here in this situation is you want to throw a slider down and in. That's a pitch that he's going to pull, and it'll keep Wigginton from hitting the ball the other way.
Franklin Morales, the left-hander, Matt Belisle, the right-hander, in the Rockies bullpen.
And Morales is a hard thrower.
You got a bunch of those in that bullpen. Outside, ball 3 and a full count to Wigginton. So Burdack, who has struggled against the right-hand hitters so far this year and did last year, having himself a problem with Wigginton. Stewart on deck, and then Iannetta. 3-2. Foul back. And with the fastball on 3-2. He looks nervous.
It's got to be a strange thing, right? I mean, it's been a long time since wore that Mets uniform. Either that, or he's just anxious to get in.
Speed pitch fouled off. Well, Izzy said today that it was going to be an emotional thing for him to come back here, and he was asked whether it would be different because he's not coming back to Shea, he's coming back to Citi Field, where he had never even been to this building before today. He said no, it still says Mets across the chest. This is enormous. I wouldn't be surprised if the butterflies are churning a little hard for a grizzled 38-year-old veteran. Wigginton takes high, ball 4, and the Rockies have the first 2 men on in the 7th against Burdack. Well, he'll stay in here to face the left-hand batter Stewart, and that's probably all he'll get.
That's the 6th walk issued by Mets pitchers. There's Todd Helton lurking.
Helton has been battling some back problems, which have been a big factor in his career arc the last couple of years. So here's Stewart, who's 1 for 3, had an infield hit back in the 4th. Stewart has had 2 career at bats against Tim Burdack, and one of the 2 was a home run. Mets play in at the corners, thinking Stewart might be bunting here. Let's see if that's the case. And he does show bunt and gets knocked down. The ball hit the bat. It's a foul ball.
That's a great shot. I love that ultra mo.
And Stewart fouls off the bunt attempt, and it's 0-2. Burdack trying to challenge the bunter up and in, low and away, and he's got a 2-strike advantage. Smith at second, Wigginton at first, and nobody out.
This is where you have the one left-hander out there, Gary, and it makes it tough on Terry Collins. You've got Iannetta, who's a .217 hitter, not a great hitter. If you take Burdack out, the left-handed bench of the Rockies is loaded with Giambi and Heldman.
Here's the 0-2 to Stewart, and Tolle has to go down in the dirt to get it. 1-2.
There he is.
Jason Giambi, 40 years old. Hit a home run in Pittsburgh the other day. 1-2. Just missed inside. Burdack thought he had it.
This umpire, Ron Culpo, likes to look away when he gives up on a pitch. Should not have given up on this one. This is a strike.
The Delta keep climbing overhead cam. Oh boy. Bogey had him.
So grab some pine right there.
2-2. Breaking ball struck him out. So Burdack survives that at bat. Takes care of Stewart for the first out. And that'll be all for Burdack.
No, it's just a hanger.
Kind of the same pitch that Seth Smith hit.
Well, Tim Burdack will leave after facing 3 batters. And coming in from the bullpen for the first time for the New York Mets since 1999 will be Jason Isringhausen. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln. So Jason Isringhausen makes his return to Flushing, comes in to face Chris Iannetta with 2 on and 1 out.
Busy 293 saves, a high of 47 in 2004 in St. Louis.
Last pitched in the major leagues in 2009. He was in 9 games for Tampa Bay. Then underwent Tommy John surgery. 1-1 to Iannetta. Tried to make a comeback last year. Was signed by Cincinnati. Pitched in 7 minor league games before the elbow flared up. Figured that he was done. Tried out for the Mets in February. J.P. Ricciardi watched him pitch, liked what he saw. They signed him to a minor league deal, and he came to camp and he was lights out. But the Mets had roster issues going into the season. Asked Izzy to stay in Florida for a couple of weeks. He had a little twinge in his elbow along the way. You don't know how long he can stay healthy. But he was popping his fastball this spring. 2-1 to Iannetta.
Hit down to first base. Davis has got it. Gets the out at second. Reyes will hold on. Isringhausen got over to cover first base, but Reyes thought better of throwing it. Now there are 2 out. This is what it sounded like when Izzy was introduced.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Now pitching for the Mets, number 45, Jason Isringhausen.
Well, Izzy got a nice hand from the crowd here at Citi Field. Gets it out to the first batter he faces, and now he'll face a fellow veteran in Todd Helton. The 37-year-old Rockies first baseman pokes one foul, 0-1. So Helton batting for the pitcher Hamill. His only chance to win is if the Rockies get him a run here in the 7th. Smith is at third, and Iannetta at first with 2 out. And that curveball, which has been his signature pitch, in for a strike, 0-2.
That was a big league curveball there. 12-6, straight over the top. Buckles even Helton.
He came to the big leagues with that knuckle curve.
Now it's 0-2 to Helton. Popped it up. Shallow center. In comes Pagan. Side retired. Jason Isringhausen with a successful return to Flushing. 2 hitters, 2 outs. 7th inning stretch tied at 4.
Coming into the loud ovation and gets the final 2 outs. He keeps this game tied at 4. And, guys, I really think he's just enjoying this. You know, I talked to him, and there was a point this offseason where he certainly thought he might be done. He was playing softball, actually, throwing the ball in the outfield and right field, and said, you know what, this feels pretty good. That's when he placed the call to J.P. Ricciardi and got the tryout with the Mets, and here he is today. And, you know, he's just so enjoyable to be around and has that fun sense of humor, too. Before the game, you know, people were asking him, you know, what does it feel like to be back? He said, it feels great, but I've been here for 20 minutes so far. And he said, you know, the weirdness of being back in a Mets uniform, he said that kind of wore off in spring training. And although this is a different ballpark, he said, well, the airport, that's still the same. And certainly that curveball, guys, that's still the same. Let's go back to you.
Well, I think everybody in that dugout was thrilled to see Isringhausen get the 2 outs. Now it's a tie game going to the bottom of the 7th, and hard-throwing Franklin Morales is in to pitch for Colorado.
Well, you see his numbers so far, but you're right. This guy has as good a stuff from the left side of anyone in the bullpen in the National League.
Belisle stays on call in the Colorado bullpen. Josh Thole will lead off for the Mets at the bottom of the 7th. Brad Emis has come out on deck to pinch hit for Isringhausen. So it's Thole, then Emis, and then Reyes. as the Mets try and gain a lead for the 4th time in this game. They've led 1-0. The Rockies tied. 2-1. The Rockies tied. Led 4-2. The Rockies tied as Bobby Parnell gets up in the Mets bullpen. Tolle is 1 for 2, single to left back in the 2nd. And Morales throws 94 low and away, 1-0.
The one problem you have with Morales, though, if you're the Rockies, is that he had 24 walks in 28 innings last year. He will walk the park if you let him.
First came up in 07 as a starting pitcher with the Rockies as he throws the fastball by Tolle, and it's 1-1. Somehow that fastball looks harder than 94.
Well, he has such a interesting kind of motion to the plate. Really speeds it up very quickly.
25-year-old from Venezuela. This is away. He and Ubaldo Jimenez burst on the scene about the same time for the Rockies. And it looked like they were going to be that righty-lefty 1-2 punch in their rotation, but Morales morphed into their closer. In fact, he was the closer when the year began last year, but gave the job back. Had some problems with his shoulder. Tolle hits one to shortstop. Tulowitzki on the backhand shows off that cannon, 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Brad Amos will bat for Isringhausen. Amos getting a seat on the bench today. He's been struggling with the bat of late. 0 for his last 11. Daniel Murphy getting the start at second base. Remember that the Mets are going with only a 4-man bench, and that bench tonight is all right-handed. Amos, Hu, Nikias, and Hairston. And that's going to be it for Morales. Jim Tracy is going to take him out and bring in the right-hander Belisle. So Morales faces just the one batter, and with Amos announced into the game and the Mets having no left-hand hitters to respond with, Matt Belisle will come on to pitch for the Rockies. We'll be right back. Neil Rogers as the Mets continue their 4-game set against the Rockies here at Citi Field. Mets Rockies coverage begins with Pepsi Max pregame live tomorrow at 6:30 only on SNY. Matt Belisle out of the Colorado bullpen.
Well, he started his career with the Cincinnati Reds, but he had quite a year last year for the Rockies. Appeared in 76 games, 92 innings pitched, 7 wins. And you were talking about his control, Barry. Amazing.
16 walks. So you got a hard throwing guy who comes in and throws strikes. What better? 30-year-old Matt Belisle. And Brad Amos takes off the plate, 1-1. Jason Hamill went 6 innings, allowed 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 of them earned, a walk, 3 strikeouts, and no decision for him. Franklin Morales faced one batter. And now it's Belisle to face Emis and then Reyes. One and two to Brad. He lays off that fastball. 2-2. Has he gotten a little farther from the plate?
Yeah, he has. Standing up a little straighter, a little further off the plate. Right in the middle of that box and way open. Got to make sure you close that front foot, huh, Keith? You're going to reach that outside corner.
Yep. Two to Emis. On the outside corner, strike three call. Beautiful pitch by Belisle gets Emis looking for the second out.
He's in black.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Reyes, who banged his first triple of the year back in the third and scored a run. He's also grounded out and flied out 1 for 3. Third baseman Stewart way in against Reyes, who's been bunting more and threatening to bunt more than in the last couple of years.
And you see with the 7th inning, a tie ball game, you see first baseman Ty Wigginton way on the line.
In the air to deep right center field. Smith got a bad jump on it near the wall, and it's off the fence. Reyes racing to second. He'll take the turn in time for 3. It's dropped by Herrera, and Reyes has his second triple of the night.
Tell you what, that ball is ripped on a good curve ball. And Seth Smith has really had a tough day out there in the outfield. He is not one in your Stratomatic game, let me tell you that. Reyes running those bases.
Well, Seth Smith doesn't have to chase that ball in Colorado. That's a home run.
He took a terrible angle to that ball. Reyes barely missing a home run. So he went the first 9 games of the season without a triple. Now he's got a pair. The go-ahead run at third with 2 out for Daniel Murphy, who's 1 for 3, singled, stole a base, scored a run in the first. And Murph takes a strike, 0-1.
We've seen Murph go in that hole between third and short. Tulowitzki needs to maybe shade over a little bit more, particularly now with 2 strikes.
Shocked to see Stewart playing it on the grass those first 2 pitches, because Murphy could have shot one right by him, but now he backs up with 2 strikes. And Murphy grounds one toward the hole. Tulowitzki on the backhand, the jumping throw, and he got it with help from Wigginton. A good stretch, but Tulowitzki shows off and saves a run to keep the game tied. With the Jeter-esque jump, Tulowitzki guns down Murphy. kept Reyes from scoring after Reyes' second triple of the night. Top of the batting order to face Bobby Parnell in the 8th, and Dexter Fowler takes a strike. Tulowitzki led National Leaguers in fielding percentage for what that's worth last year. I know there are new metrics that get introduced virtually every year to try and judge the best fielders, and some of them have some merit. The best way to judge fielders is still with your eyes.
Yes, yes. No question. And the good fielders with the most range have the most chances, and they're normally going to make more errors.
Fowler hits one down the left field line, but the other piece of it is, you know, they have the ultimate zone rating, which again has some merit, but it doesn't tell you who makes the play with 2 out and a runner at third.
Like that play right there.
Exactly.
How much spin is on the baseball, right?
Yep. Fowler is 0 for 2, a sacrifice fly and a walk. Parnell had a day off yesterday after 2 troubled outings over the weekend. Had some trouble throwing strikes, which has been a plague for the entire Mets pitching staff. Mets came into the day with the 2nd most walks from their staff in the league, and they've already walked 6 today. 2-2 to Fowler. Line into right field, a base hit. And so the speedy Dexter Fowler is aboard with the lead run to start the 8th inning.
Pretty good quickness inside there. You know, 95+ fastball from Parnell.
And he's been tardy all night, but turned it up there.
So you would expect Jonathan Herrera to be bunting here. Herrera a single and a double, 2 for 4 on the night. Rafael Betancourt, the Rockies' 8th inning man, gets up. Fowler 2 steals so far this year. Herrera gives himself up and gets the bunt down beautifully. Davis makes the play to Murphy. 3-4 on the sacrifice, moving Fowler to second. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He's got a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Cubs trying to get to 500 on the season, while the Astros, even with a win yesterday, 2-7 to start the year. So here's Carlos Gonzalez, who broke his bat, skidded one through the hole on the left side, and drove in the tying runs in the 6th inning.
Well, you know you got good protection when you're the batting champion, you're a left-hand hitter, and they're not walking you because you got the guy in the on-deck circle, Mr. Tulowitzki.
It's quite a 1-2 punch. Good breaking ball by Parnell, 0-1.
Boy, it's almost like Gonzalez knew the base was open, sat on the slider, got it, but it was out of the zone.
Well, the Rockies just 2 for 16 with runners in scoring position. Gonzalez has one of those 2 hits. Four top of the 8th. Reyes trying to stay close to Fowler at second base, so he can't get too big of a lead. And Gonzalez gets another slider, 1-1. Scouts look at Carlos Gonzalez and his collection of skills. The name that always comes up in relation to who they compare him to, Carlos Beltran.
Yeah.
And it goes to the backstop, and that'll move Fowler to third. That's a huge wild pitch. And now the go-ahead run at third with 1 out.
Got to bring the infield in now.
Bobby will do this sometimes. It's supposed to be a fastball away, and he holds on to it a little too long. And the ball's going 96, 97 miles an hour. Almost impossible for Tolley to get to that side of the plate.
So now it's 2-1 to Gonzalez. The infield has to come in. Fowler at third with excellent speed with 1 out. Tough test for Parnell. Upstairs, 3-1.
Boy, just the Tulowitzki on deck such confidence in the way Gonzalez approaches at the plate. There's not a lot of moving parts.
3-1. Chopper. Parnell comes home with it and throws it away. Fowler scores. Gonzalez heads to second. He arrives safely. The Rockies lead for the first time tonight, 5-4.
Well, he gets a chop here. He's got to play at the plate.
Did he have a play?
I thought he had him. I thought he had a play. He just threw it in the Never Land. You know, he had a play, Gary. If he gets that ball and he throws the ball right on the base, or decides to get it barehanded and throws it right on home plate, then they definitely had a play.
Seemed to have trouble getting the ball out of his glove, which led to the bad throw. They'll score a fielder's choice RBI. The error moves Gonzalez to second, and now Tulowitzki takes low and away ball one. So after the Rockies rallied to tie 3 separate times, they go in front for the first time against the beleaguered Mets bullpen in the 8th inning. And Terry Collins has seen far too much of that already, just 10 games into the season. Tulowitzki rockets one to deep left field. Harris back for a look. That ball is out of here. Troy Tulowitzki with his 4th home run of the year, a 2-run shot. And the Rockies now lead at 7-4. Tulowitzki hit one to the wall his last time up. This time he clears the Great Wall of Flushing for his 4th home run. And the Rockies have a 3-run lead. Made the great defensive play to keep the game tied in the last half inning. And now he puts the Rockies up by 3.
They're fired up. Here's the pitch. Fastball, inner half up. He just turned on it. A lot of power being supplied by Parnell. Look at his reaction.
So Parnell messes up a fielding play, and 2 pitches later gives up the bomb. Now Seth Smith, who has a double and a triple tonight, 2 for 3. And he takes a strike from Parnell. Now Mike Pelfrey went 5 1/3, allowed 4 runs, 6 hits. Ryota Igarashi came on for 2/3 of an inning, worked around a hit and a walk. Tim Burdock went 1/3, allowed a hit and a walk. Jason Isringhausen got his 2 batters, but not Parnell.
Well, there you go. It's a pretty quick bat on an inside fastball, 95 miles an hour.
Ryo TV pitch differential. Slider looped into shallow center field, and that'll fall for a hit for Seth Smith, his 3rd hit of the night. On 0-2, just served it into center field, and it's all falling apart for Bobby Parnell. Dan Warthen will go out for a visit. Terry Collins has the bullpen busy with Pedro Beato up, but he'll leave Parnell in for at least one more batter.
Up to 16 pitches now. One more batter. You didn't want to get up over 20 for your 8th inning man, but tough goal for Parnell.
This raises an interesting question, yeah, Ronnie, because, you know, the bullpen is very much a work in progress, and other than Francisco Rodriguez, the roles are kind of undefined. Parnell has been given the 8th inning job for the moment, but he has really struggled in this early season, and he is a guy who has options. So you know, we've already seen from Sandy Alderson that he has made a decisive move 9 games into the season to try and upgrade that bullpen. You wonder whether they might be considering another move with Parnell.
Well, another move, or your other option after watching Isringhausen throw tonight, is that you can move him into the 8th inning for a while, and when he can't go back to back, maybe then Parnell will get it again.
Wigginton gets ahead of the slider and rockets it foul. Now the Mets also have Manny Acosta, but he was not eligible to come up because he was designated for assignment less than 10 days ago. But once he's eligible, he's another option down in AAA. But I think we've seen very quickly this season that the new management that the Mets have is not going to be nearly as patient
Yes.
with lack of performance as we might have seen over the last few years.
But there is going to be a master plan, and Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time. There's a lot of fumbling around. They tried to remake the bullpen. They made some nice back end of the rotation in Capuano and Chris Young. Things haven't panned out in the bullpen. You just can't put your thumb in the dike and stop the bleeding, overnight. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. A lot of evaluations going on right now, I guarantee you.
Well, with a guy like Parnell, you think about him as being part of your future. He's got such a great arm and such great potential, but you don't want to put him in situations where he's getting beat up every day either.
It's been a kind of the entire bullpen has struggled. So, but I agree with you. It's just, this is the new people in charge have dictated that this is going to be a result business as Wigginton goes down on that slider. If you don't get results, you're going to try someone else.
So 2 away as Wigginton strikes out for the second time today. And now Ian Stewart, who is 1 for 4. Here in the 8th, a leadoff single by Dexter Fowler, sacrificed along by Jonathan Herrera. Then a wild pitch, a huge piece of this inning. Put Fowler at third with 1 out. Carlos Gonzalez chopped one back to the mound. Bobby Parnell trying to get the fielder's choice at the plate, threw it away as the go-ahead run scored, and then Tulowitzki followed with a 2-run homer. And a game the Mets have led 3 separate times now has the Rockies up 7-4. Smith at first and 2 down. And Stewart takes a letter high strike. 1-1. There's a strike. 1-2. Rafael Betancourt has been getting ready in the Rockies bullpen to pitch the bottom of the 8th. Smith runs the slider in the dirt, and Smith steals second. His first stolen base of the year. James has been doing a lot of running against the Mets early in the year. That's the Rockies' 3rd stolen base of the game. Two and 2 now to Stewart. And he fights one off. Still 2 and 2. "25 pitches in the inning for Parnell. Chris Iannetta waiting on deck. His previous outing on Saturday, Parnell went 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit and a walk to his first 2 hitters. Friday night worked 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit and 2 walks, and was charged with a run. So his 3rd straight difficult outing. Three and 2 now to Stewart. And it's in there for a call strike 3. So Parnell finishes the inning with back-to-back strikeouts. But the Rockies grab the lead. They get a runner to third with 1 out. And then Parnell unable to get it out at the plate. That gave the Rockies the lead, and Tulowitzki did the rest. 7-4 Colorado going to the bottom of the 8th. Question. The only 3 shortstops in the Hall of Fame with 3,000 hits.
Wagner, Vaughn, and Appling. Maybe.
Archie Bond. Ripken.
Got on his
Yount.
Yount, of course, an asterisk there because he wasn't a shortstop his whole career.
Well, he played 1,400 games at shortstop, 1,200 in the outfield.
Cal Ripken, the vast majority of his career played at shortstop, and Honest Wagner, I think, the entirety. Rafael Betancourt, 35-year-old right-hander, in to pitch for the Rockies in the 8th.
Well, he's had a nice career as a setup man from Cleveland and then coming over here to Colorado. Only 9 walks last year.
He had
62 appearances.
He had in 2007 maybe the best year that any 8th inning guy has ever had when he pitched for Cleveland. That year, Betancourt in 2007, 79 innings, 51 hits, 9 walks,
wow,
80 strikeouts, a 1.47 ERA.
Why'd they let him get away?
That's an excellent question.
Jeez.
Because he struggled the next year, that's why. Betancourt at age 35 still going strong for a very talented Rockies bullpen. Franklin Morales and Matt Belisle combined to get a 0 in the 7th inning, and now the Mets set up the heart of the batting order in the 8th, now down by 3 runs. David Wright 1 for 2 and a sacrifice fly back in the 3rd inning. That one put the Mets up 2-1. That's got a run in the 1st to go up 1-0. Rockies tied it. They got that Wright sacrifice fly in the 3rd to go up 2-1. The Rockies tied it. They got a 2-run double from Willie Harris in the 4th to go up 4-2. The Rockies tied it in the 6th and took the lead in the 8th. And Wright takes a strike. 1-1. It'll be Wright, then Beltran and Davis for the Mets in the 8th. By the way, the 2 triples for Jose Reyes tonight. 5th time in his career he's had 2 triples in a game, but the first time since 2008, which I guess makes some sense when you think about the leg problems he had in 09 and then the oblique and everything else last year. Wright hits one well to right field, chasing Seth Smith back to the track near the wall. It's out of here. David Wright with an opposite field home run, his 2nd home run of the season, and it cuts the Colorado lead to 7-5. So Wright greets Betancourt with a solo home run, and the Mets are back within 2.
Well, he's setting up away. It's right down the middle. That's a ball you can see David go and set up all the way to the opposite field.
That's 400 feet to right center, isn't it? 4+.
So now Beltran is 0 for 3 on the day. His double play in the 1st inning brought home the first Met run.
Now watch David. He's going to go right in. The little leg kick. He has every intention of going to the right center field. I love his follow through there, the top hand. Nice cut.
Hit hard down the right field line. That's a fair ball going to the corner. Beltran has an extra base hit. So Wright with a home run. Beltran follows with a double, and the Mets will get the tying run to the plate here in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, they're jumping on his fastball. Carlo swinging a good bat.
Beltran has his first hit of the night, his 3rd double of the year. Back-to-back extra base hits for the Mets, and now the Mets RBI leader Ike Davis will step in. Ike is 0 for 3 tonight. 10 RBIs, tied for 3rd in the National League. Well, Jim Tracy's got his 8th inning guy in there, but he's given up 2 rockets. There's nobody up in the Colorado bullpen. The closer is Houston Street. They also have Matt Lindstrom as an alternate closer. But nobody throwing. Davis swings at a first pitch changeup, 0-1.
I just had a feeling he wasn't going to throw a fastball there. He's got lunched two pitches in a row on fastballs.
Mets are playing their 10th game. Ike had at least 1 RBI in 8 of the first 9. Beltran at second and nobody out, with Angel Pagan on deck. Shaded toward the bag, but made no move toward second.
2-run lead. You're down 2 runs. You're going to try to steal third base? I don't think so.
Certainly not with nobody out.
And bad knees.
0-1 to Ike Davis. And that fastball misses. A ball and a strike. Pagan waits at a base hit his last time up.
Interesting, these relievers that come in nowadays, late in games, so methodical.
You mean slow?
It's like 10 things have to go right before they can deliver the ball.
To the right side, base hit. Beltran around third. He'll come in to score. Ike Davis with an RBI single. This is a 1-run game. 7-6 Colorado. RBI number 11 for Ike Davis. Just about an RBI a day. 3 straight hits off Betancourt, and the Mets have drawn back to within 1.
Nice hitting and a changeup. They had too much plate. Ike stays back nice. Good balance. Hands back. And he continues to clutch out.
And we also don't talk about, we always talk about when the defense has been placed by the coaches in a nice play and makes a play. But the defense has got burned many times today by overplaying or overplaying the pull for a lot of these hitters.
Felipe Paulino will get up in the Colorado bullpen, but he is just starting to loosen up. Betancourt's given up a home run to right, a double to Beltran, and then the single to Davis. 2 runs are in. The tying run at first, and Angel Pagan will step in. Pagan is 1 for 3 on the day. Now, we saw a circumstance in Miami in the first series of the year where down by a run, Ike Davis was lifted for a pinch runner. But with a 4-man bench, Terry Collins can't really afford to do that. Yeah, Pagan takes a strike. Well, the Rockies trying to hang on to a victory. Flushing has been a very difficult place for them to win. 22-51 all time, and even worse recently. Since 2003, the Rockies are 4-23 against the Mets in New York.
Look at the third baseman. My goodness, Stewart, what's he playing in so much for? This is the 6th hitter up here.
0-1 to Pagan, who showed no signs of bunting the first pitch and doesn't bunt this one. Instead, pops it up to shallow left. Tulowitzki out, Gonzalez in, and Tulowitzki, with Gonzalez right behind him, makes the grab. That's the second time Gonzalez has almost been involved in a tete-a-tete today.
Ooh. Nice French there.
That tells me something, though. It tells me that Gonzalez, as good as he is usually the culprit of not calling for the baseball.
Well, he and Fowler almost came together in left center earlier in the game with all the Fowler caught. But no harm, no foul. 1 out of the inning, and now Willie Harris, who had a big hit in the 4th, a double down the right field line that drove in 2 runs. He's also walked today. Willie is 1 for 2.
A bit surprised here with the right-handed bench of Hairston and Nikias, with 2 left-handers up here. Tracy did not have a lefty up and ready to come in here. You could force Terry Collins' hand right here with a left-hander ready to come in. With Harrison totally up.
Raid his bench down. No one left.
And you've got Nickius as the backup catcher. You're forcing either Who or Hairston or both.
One out and one on, and Harris takes the off-speed pitch wide for ball one. Harris has had 6 career at-bats against Betancourt, 1 for 6. Josh Thole on deck. That's with 2 runs home here in the bottom of the 8th, after the Rockies put up a 3 spot on the top of the inning to grab the lead. And again, Stewart playing in at third. In what is most certainly not a bunting situation. 2-0 now to Harris. Most daring those left-hand batters to slap the ball by him.
He's got to respect the potential of Harris with a drag bunt here, but you know what you always like to do is they're moving him back a bit now, but you can be in on the grass, Gare. And as the pitcher breaks from the belt, you push back around. You can push back 5 feet.
Harris has been looking to unload on these 2-0 pitches. See if he does here. Takes a big cut and pops it up to shallow center. Dexter Fowler settling under it. And that's the second out, and Davis has to go back to first. Well, that has become Willie Harris's game the last couple of years. He's a little guy who looks to hit home runs.
Well, he should be the kind of guy that always wants to hit line drives or ground balls. He has a little bit of that speed. And there should be mistakes when he makes.
Well, yeah, that's his swing too, though, Gary. Yeah. It's not a ground ball line drive swing.
So here's Thole with 2 out of the tying run still at first. Josh is 1 for 3 on the day. Single to left back in the second inning. So Betancourt trying to mute the Mets here after giving up 2 runs in the inning. And a fastball strike to Thole. Scott Hairston has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Thole can keep the inning alive. Again, the Mets don't have any left-handed bats on the bench, with Murphy getting the start today and Duda sent to the minor league. Mets have 10 hits. The Rockies have 11. The Mets are a run shy in the 8th. Up and away to Thole. A ball and a strike.
The one thing you have with Betancourt, even though he throws 91, 92 miles an hour, can't get much of a straighter fastball. So if he's not right on the corners, he becomes a little hittable.
Davis, who's no threat to be going anywhere, easily back to the bag.
If he does on his own, he better make it.
Daniel Murphy stole a base back in the first inning, but Murphy has more speed than Davis does. He always chokes up on that bat. One from Betancourt. And Thole fouls it off. Ball and 2 strikes.
Well, you had a pitch to hit there, Keith. A little quicker by Josh.
Betancourt working to his 6th batter. One and 2 to Thole. Just missed. 2-2. They're really playing totally as a left field hitter on the infield. Herrera, the second baseman, way over toward the bag, leaving a big hole on the right side.
And basically, but straight up in the outfield, except for the left fielder, Gonzalez.
So Josh turning on a few more balls this spring. And a couple of long home runs along the way in Port St. Lucie. 2-2. Swing and a miss. Got him with a high hard one. Betancourt strikes out Tolwyn to win the inning. So the Mets cash 2. David Wright with his second home run of the year as he takes one long to right center field. Beltran doubled. Davis singled him home. 7-6 Colorado as we go to the ninth. But Carlos Beltran is out in right field wearing flip-down sunglasses.
Well, Willie Harris had the problem in left field. You'd have to assume that the way the lights are structured here, that it would also be a problem maybe for Carlos Beltran, and might have gotten a ball that came up to him earlier that he lost in the light. So does not want to take a chance. That's a good thing.
It's better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
There are the light standards that might be in the eyes of Beltran. Meanwhile, Pedro Beato, who grew up in Queens, makes his Citi Field debut.
It was a thrill for him to get introduced on opening day. His last outing gave up a couple unearned runs in his inning of work in Philadelphia.
So a big thrill for Pedro to go to the Citi Field mound. He'll take on Chris Iannetta, who's walked twice and been hit by a pitch today.
Oh boy, look at your socks, Ronnie.
Yesterday, I guess, was just a blip with Josh Beckett pitching so well. The Red Sox starters have just been getting toasted early in the year.
16 runs.
Who started that game?
That was Matt Sasaki.
Oh.
Well, and the Rays, who were 1-8 coming into the day, having a field day at Fenway.
Must be strange for that team to come into Fenway and see that the left fielder is their old left fielder, Carl Crawford.
And Johnny Damon has a home run in that game back at Fenway. Brian Spilborg's on deck to bat for the pitcher Betancourt. Iannetta takes a slider off the plate. 2-2. Houston Street is up in the Colorado bullpen. The Rockies closer looking for a save chance with Colorado trying to hang on. There's Street. Swing and a miss, and Beato fans the first man to face him in Citi Field with a 96-mile-an-hour heater. Let's see what's coming up on Lincoln Postgame Live. Checking with the studio, Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda. All right, guys. Now Ryan Spilborghs pinch hits for Betancourt and takes a slider for ball one. And Beato overthrowing a little bit. It's 2-0.
Yeah, he's pumped up, right? We haven't seen him throw 96 miles an hour yet this year. So there's some kind of feeling for this youngster.
24 years old, out of Xaverian High School in Brooklyn. And throws a fastball for a strike. That's got him in the Rule 5 draft for Baltimore. They originally drafted him out of high school, but he decided to go on to college instead. Declined to sign. Wound up being drafted by the Orioles. But the Mets took him in the Rule 5 draft and loved what they saw this spring, and he made the club. Now the 2-2 popped up. Should be playable for Ike Davis in foul ground. And Ike puts it away, 2 down. So Beato trying to keep it a 1-run game has set down the first 2. Mike Pelfrey is his best start of the year so far, but note the pitch count so far. He couldn't go beyond 5 1/3. Igarashi muscled his way through the 6th. Burdack struggled, but Isringhausen bailed him out in the 7th. But then Bobby Parnell had the very rough outing. Wild pitch, a throwing error, and then gave up a 2-run homer to Troy Tulowitzki, and Parnell is on the hook in this game. Dexter Fowler scored the go-ahead run for Colorado after singling off Parnell in the 8th. 1-0 to Fowler. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have 9, 1, and 2 in the order coming up. The pitcher spot, then Reyes and Murphy, and then if anybody gets on, David Wright. And if Beato can keep this a 1-run game, Mets will have their chance against Houston Street.
Boy, Beato has that good 95 mile an hour this Houston. That 92 mile an hour sinking fastball that he throws 2 seams. Outstanding changeup. Is that great stuff?
Two and 1 to Fowler. 3 more games to go in this series. John Neese goes tomorrow trying to bounce back from a difficult outing against Esmiel Rogers. R.A. Dickey hoping his fingernail was healed against Jorge De La Rosa, who has a blister problem of his own. Beato makes the fielding play, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for the Queens product in his first Citi Field outing. Now the Mets will come up in the bottom of the 9th down by a run. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Geico. By AT&T. Rethink possible. And by Bud Light Lime, the just right taste of Bud Light with a refreshing splash of 100% natural lime flavor. New York at night. Another long game for the Mets. Played nearly 4 hours yesterday. A heartbreaking loss. Now trying to come from behind in the bottom of the ninth against Houston Street, who bids for his 5th save of the year already.
Well, Street's one of the best closers in the game. Interesting enough, he throws 3/4, but the right-handed hitters have had their way with him early in the season.
Scott Hairston will pinch hit. It's been a very rough start to the year for Scott in his first year as a Met. He's had 4 career at-bats against Houston Street, and one of those 4 resulted in a home run. Mets scored 2 in the 8th to get closer. Now they're up in the 9th, down by a run. And Street throws a strike. Jose Reyes on deck, and then Daniel Murphy in the last of the 9th. Nice job by Pedro Beato to keep the Mets within a run. Now the breaking ball gets Street ahead on Hairston, 0-2.
Two big parts of their team here in Colorado. Houston Street and Carlo Gonzalez came from Oakland for Matt Holliday.
Nice trade.
Yeah, right.
For a guy who was going to be a free agent. 1-2 to Hairston.
Those are the kind of players you're supposed to get when you decide to not re-sign one of your veterans.
Anyway, speaking of Matt Holliday, his running mate Pujols having a tough walk here so far. It's at 143.
Oh, they have to settle for $27 million then.
There's the 1-2 from Street, and Hairston goes down swinging, 1 away. Doesn't throw that hard, but he never gives you anything in the middle of the plate.
He knows where it's going. He sinks it a little bit. Got a good slider.
Now Reyes, who's had a big night with a pair of triples. First 2 triple game for Reyes since 2008, the 5th of his career. Let's wouldn't mind another one right now to get that tying run to third. Stewart comes way in to protect against the bunt at third base. And Reyes takes ball 1.
And Smith in right field playing a little deeper.
And a fastball strike to Jose, 1-1.
Boy, borderline knees right there. The pitch prior was the same elevation.
Daniel Murphy, who's excelled on defense tonight, waiting on deck. Off speed pitch in for a strike. Street throwing the kitchen sink and ahead 1-2.
Some paint there. I tell you what, Ronnie, those pitches could be very easily 3-0.
That's right. I thought that ball was off the plate.
Jeez. Ron Copel, the home plate umpire, gives it to Street. 1-2 to Reyes. And he struck him out with the changeup. So Street with back-to-back strikeouts to start the last of the ninth. And the Mets are down to their final out.
Another changeup. Supposed to be away, just stayed down. And that's what Street does best. If he gets ahead of you, he's able to throw that ball out of the strike zone and make you chase it.
So 2 out and nobody on. It's left to Daniel Murphy, who's 1 for 4 on the day. Had a chance to give the Mets the lead in the 7th. With Reyes at third and 2 out, hit one to the hole at short, and Tulowitzki made a great play. A jumping throw to first base to keep the game tied, and then the Rockies came the next half inning with 3 runs in the 8th, 2 of them on Tulowitzki's home run. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night after the game, the Rangers getting ready for the playoffs, the NBA as well, and it's like Kemba Walker, no surprises going to the draft after his miraculous junior year at UConn. I think he already graduated too. He was honored on senior night with the Huskies. Here's the 1-1 to Murphy. Slapped foul, and now the Mets are down to their final strike. Mets in danger of suffering their 6th loss in their last 7 games. John Neese tomorrow night against Esmil Rogers in Game 2 of this series. 1-2 from Street to Murphy. It's hit in the air to left field. Should be easy for Carlos Gonzalez. And the ball game is over. Street finishes it off with a 1-2-3 ninth to save it for the Rockies, who get 2 in the 6th and 3 in the 8th to win it 7-6.
Well, it's really easy to blame the bullpen's pitching, but really you can blame the bullpen's defense tonight. Igarashi could have turned a double play. He did not. Home to first. Did not turn it, and Carlos Gonzalez knocked in 2 runs, and later Bobby Parnell allowed the go-ahead run to score with a bad play to home and gave up a 2-run home run later. So defense by the pitchers cost the Mets late.
And also Mets got a couple gift runs there, two errors in a row in the 4th. 2 of those runs were unearned. So not a good night for the Metropolitans.
Mets waste a pair of triples from Reyes and a home run from David Wright. Willie Harris had a 2-run double. Not enough tonight as the Mets lose their 3rd in a row, as they fall to the Rockies by the score of 7-6. Game 2 of the series tomorrow night, 6:30. The coverage on SNY with Jonathan Neese pitching against Esmil Rogers. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. Time for Lincoln Postgame Live. Let's join Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda.